All right, guys, we should be live now. Hopefully, everything is in working order and everything is working fine. I am testing out a few things today, so I'm going to be looking for a little bit of feedback. The first thing is the audio quality. I've gotten some complaints ever since I switched to this new microphone that I don't know, apparently the audio quality is good, but the bass is too high. So I'm going to see, if this is better. I adjusted some of the settings. There are a lot of settings. It can be a little bit overwhelming. And obviously, because I'm audio only, I want to try to have the best possible quality. So a lot of you are saying the audio is good. It's fine. It's perfect. Sounds fine to you. Okay, well, good. The other thing I'm going to be testing, and this is actually because of some issues I ran into with the latest live stream we did, the latest reaction with the state of play. Thank you, Sir Speaks a Lot. You're saying I got 5 wins in a row on Fall Guys. Obey me, slaves. That is very impressive. Yeah, Fall Guys. What a game, huh? Who would have thought that that was going to be the next big thing? But here we are with Fall Guys. I actually did play it. Unfortunately, I didn't capture any gameplay of it for some reason. It's because I've been playing this other game called the Mean Greens, which you're gonna see gameplay of that, and it's a fun game. It was like $20, and I was enjoying it, so I figured I'll just, I'll record some gameplay of it. There will also be Ghost of Tsushima gameplay later on, because obviously I'm still making my way through that, enjoying it a lot, and yeah, just taking my good old time with it. But the other issue I ran into was for anybody who was hanging out with me during the State of Play live reaction, and this seems to be a recurring issue. And to be honest, I cannot seem to figure out what exactly is causing it. Where anytime I'm doing a live stream of another stream, such as streaming a State of Play or the PlayStation event or an Xbox event, I seem to have issues with frame rates and choppiness, and I've tried to figure out why. I've looked into it. It could be my PC, but I'm not 100% sure that that's it. From what I've looked into, it could be a CPU issue, a RAM issue. But when I look at, what it's telling me, it says the CPU is fine and whatnot. But anyway, I think it could be the internet as well. I do have a wired fiber optic connection, so I'm not so sure that that's it. If you look at these streams we do each week, I seem to, as far as I can tell anyway, not have any issues like that. When I'm playing gameplay in the background and I have all these things going on, my PC seems to handle it just fine. So it could very well be a bitrate thing. I think maybe I've been streaming with the bitrate way too high for these live events, so I'm gonna have to actually experiment. I was thinking about potentially doing a live stream reaction to Dr. Disrespect since he made his big return and just literally testing it out just for like a mess around stream. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not, but it's something we could do. It doesn't have to be Dr. Disrespect. It could be literally anything. But I essentially need to stream somebody else streaming or some type of other event to test it out and figure out live like what the problem may be to kind of troubleshoot it. Thank you, Arjit Chowdhury. I apologize if I just completely butchered your name, buddy, but thank you so much for becoming a member. I really do appreciate that. And yes, shout out to all of my members. Thank you guys so much for going above and beyond and choosing to support me directly. And I'll actually use this opportunity to plug my channel memberships. If you are interested in becoming a channel member, hit that join button if you're able to. I know it's not available to everybody, but if it is available to you, be sure to do that if you want to help support me directly as an independent content creator. If you like what I do, if you appreciate what I do, and you want to see it continue and continue to evolve and improve, that is just a great way for you to support me directly. But obviously, I appreciate all the support you guys show me. I do also want to let everybody know, you may notice this very soon, I had to remove one of the member perks. Now, I'm hoping that this doesn't upset anybody, but it's just something that I feel like I have to do. I'm going to be removing the members only live stream, at least for now, because anytime I've attempted to do it, it just seems like because it's in beta mode, there are issues with it, and my members don't get notified. My members are not aware that it even happened. My members seemingly can't even see the stream afterwards for some reason, and I don't know what's up with that. There's just a lot of issues with it. And so, what I want to do instead is find a different perk to incorporate. I've been thinking about other, you know, membership perks that I could incorporate that won't stretch me too thin. That's another thing I have to be aware of. I do want to try to always give something a little bit extra to my members, of course, but I have to be sure that I don't, spread myself too thin here since I do daily content in a weekly podcast. So hopefully you guys will understand the decision behind that, and I hope you are okay with it and look forward to a different perk that will be coming out. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. It could have something to do with the merch, maybe potentially a discount or something along those lines, which, yes, I will also plug that. For those who are interested, my merch is live. It is up. You can go check it out. Go check out the store, see if there's anything you're interested in. Again, it's just a way for you to help support me here directly. But enough about that. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'll let the member credits roll a little bit longer here, and so, what are we going to be talking about during today's podcast? We have Bojan. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. You're saying love your channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support, buddy. D-Doc, you're saying removing perks, very anti-consumer MVG. Ah, yes. I can only assume that is a bit of sarcasm there. Yes, anti-consumer seems to be the word of the week when it comes to PlayStation. And yes, we do have a lot to discuss in the realm of PlayStation. We're going to be going over some new rumors and leaks potentially that have popped up. Now, something I'm trying my best to do week over week for you guys is when we do this podcast, because I do content every single day and I try to keep up with the news every single day, at least any news that's relevant to PlayStation or console gaming or games that we, normally cover here on the channel. I do want to uh, try to save some things for the podcast. It's kind of a balancing act to figure out, like, do I talk about this today in a video or should I save this for the podcast? So we do have some topics here today that I think you guys are going to be interested in because I didn't actually talk about them yet throughout the week, but we will also be talking a little bit more about some other things that have occurred throughout the week, such as the announcement of the Spider-Man exclusivity with Avengers and the conversation that that has sparked up. There are some people who seemingly did not like my response to what I had to say about that. So, yeah, we have a lot of different topics to go over. Uh, and it's gonna be a good show. Yeah, because I certainly have a lot to say, but I kind of just want to throw this in here at the beginning. It's not necessarily a topic, but it might be something worth mentioning here because I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I have noticed that there seems to be some very prominent YouTubers in the YouTubing landscape here that, for one reason or another, are streaming God of War. Now, I noticed today that Jack Frags was streaming God of War. He's a pretty big YouTuber, but he doesn't normally play games like that. I noticed he was streaming Uncharted 4 before that. He's known for covering games like Battlefield, Call of Duty, Warzone. That's like, competitive FPS stuff. I saw PewDiePie streaming it. Now, I have been informed, because I don't really follow PewDiePie like that he apparently was streaming God of War because he put out a poll, and that's what people voted for. So I don't know what other games were on that poll, but I have to tell you guys, it's interesting to me, the timing of it. Now, I'm not sitting here saying we should speculate to no end and assume that Sony is contacting these big YouTubers and paying them to stream God of War 2018. That's not what I'm saying at all. In fact, I don't think that's the case. However, we have been covering rumors of apparently the next God of War game being revealed before the end of the year. Sony's been saving it. We know it's going to happen at some point. We just don't know if it's going to happen this year. I mean, we know for a fact it is in development. It's a game that's being made, and we can also safely assume, especially if you watched yesterday's video that I put out, that this game will be coming out possibly a lot sooner than people think, because there seem to be some people under the impression or the idea that a game like God of War 5 or a follow-up to God of War 2018 will take a minimum of 4, maybe even 5 years to develop and get out, but that may not be the case. In fact, there's a lot of evidence to point to that not being the case at all. Not only because we have Cory Barlog coming out and saying that yes, the PlayStation 5 is in fact very, very easy to develop for. What's going on, Freeze Vamp? Thank you for being here. I'm doing good today. Thanks for asking. I hope everybody else is doing well. But Cory Barlog is confirming that the PlayStation 5 is incredibly easy to develop for, and letting everybody know that it's not going to take Sony Santa Monica or seemingly any of Sony's studios that long to transition from developing on the PS4 to the PS5 compared to past generations, because there can be some major architecture changes in the hardware, which we're not seeing this time, not to a extremely significant degree anyway. We're not going to see them having to spend a year to figure out how to get their game up and running on this new hardware. Whatever game they have in development is already up and running on the hardware. They've had dev kits longer than anybody else. And so it's just a matter of how much time do they want to take to push it as far as they can go. You also have to think about the timing of when Sony would want to reveal a game like God of War 5. Does it make sense to reveal it now? Would it make more sense to reveal it sometime in 2021? You want to make sure that you don't reveal everything at one time, because if you do that, obviously you're not going to have enough left over to reveal next year or the year after that. And so I don't want to say that it's some kind of sign, right? It could be a sign from the universe. Who knows if you believe in that, which I kind of do, right? It could be a sign from the universe that we're seeing these big streamers stream God of War for some reason randomly. And maybe it means we can expect a God of War 5 announcement soon. However, I don't want to sit here and tell anybody to anticipate that. I mean, it's going to be coming at some point. We just don't know when. But yeah, I just wanted to take a moment in the beginning of the stream to acknowledge that, because I noticed some people were pointing that out and kind of wondering, like, does this mean anything? I don't think it means anything. I wouldn't read too much into it. If anything, I would say listen to what Cory Barlog recently had to say. Go watch that video I put out yesterday if you want, where he had a lot of very interesting things to say that I may be reading into them too much, but I don't think I am. Just to kind of sum it up, he's basically saying you can expect games to release or be revealed, maybe not be revealed, but to be finished sooner than you might think, because they don't have to spend much time at all, if any time at all, wrapping their head around the hardware. They're just making the game. And yeah, so I noticed there are a lot of thank you, mods. I appreciate you doing a good job here. Big thank you to my mods. But I saw that Twitter feed. You in talks with Cory? No, I do not speak with Cory Barlog behind the scenes, really, or even ever at all. So you don't have to worry about that. I'm not some type of secret insider that's trying to hint that God of War is going to be revealed soon. I know as much as you do. Unfortunately, I would like to know more, but maybe it's best I don't. Astro DK, you're saying PlayStation 5 digital needs to come in at $429.99 and standard PS5 at $479.99 in order to access the largest market. Sony can't let Lockhart undercut too much. I think I only half agree with you there, buddy, because I do think that, yes, Microsoft will have the price advantage with Lockhart, but I'm not so sure that Sony cares that much, especially when you look at the position they're in now. I'm not saying that means that they don't care about trying to achieve a lower price. I think those price points you listed are a little bit too um, unlikely. I just don't see a console being priced at 480 or 430. They're just really strange price points that you don't really ever see. If anything, it seems more likely you're going to see the disc version of the PS5 at $500 and the digital version either at 450 or 400. Now, me personally, I think the digital version of the PlayStation 5 will come in at 400, simply because it makes the most sense, at least from a forward facing perspective, where from what I can see, that would ensure that the digital version of the console would sell very, very well. It would fly off the shelves, honestly. And you have to think about the difference between a $500 price point and a $450 price point versus a $500 price point and a $400 price point. Does it really make sense to just cut it by 50 bucks? I mean, is that really that appealing to people? Maybe it is. Or maybe, they could have different storage sizes. There's a lot of different ways Sony could go about it, but if you're talking about lowering the price, I'm anticipating 400 and 500. That's just my assumption. We could see 400 and 450, or who knows? Maybe there's a chance both of them will just be $500. That would be a little bit bizarre. You would have to assume if you want to pay $500 for the digital console, there's going to have to be something there to add some type of value, right? Whether that could be a PlayStation Now subscription, PlayStation Plus bundled in, a game potentially, some digital games. That could be a likely scenario. Not new games, though. That's where it gets kind of tough because Sony wants you to buy the new games. Anyway, let me bring the gameplay up here. Let me remove this media source for you guys. And yes, the gameplay you are going to be seeing, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to be asking, what game are we looking at right now? This is Mean Greens. It just released on the PlayStation 4. It's about 20 bucks. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm not telling you should buy it, but check out the gameplay. It's an okay game. To give it a quick little minute review here, it's a game that it's just mindless fun. If you're looking for something that you can really get engaged with and really get, a deep gameplay experience, you're certainly not going to find that here. But if you are looking for something that does have multiplayer and it's just team based and there's free for all and the map design is really interesting, the concept is interesting, go check it out. I see some people saying, oh, it's like Grounded. Um, yeah, in a way, I guess, like art style wise, but I don't know. It's a fun game. The reason why I was so interested in it is because I played the Army Men games way back, like Sarge's Heroes or whatever, and this just kind of hit the nostalgia button for me. So yeah, and thank you so much, Out for Blood, Brooklyn, New York. I appreciate you becoming a member. Again, a big shout out to all my members. Look forward to your exclusive perks, buddy, and thank you for choosing to support me as an independent content creator directly. So yeah, enjoy the gameplay in the background. There will be Ghost of Tsushima gameplay that pops up later on. I tried my best to skim through all of this gameplay I recorded. I hope I don't know if it's all perfect, so you might see some weird stuff, but hey, it is what it is. And thank you so much for that, October's very own. I appreciate that donation. Let's start here with the first topic, though. It has to do with the PlayStation 5 reveal event. We might have a date here. And thank you so much, Alpha A and Invader Brain. Thank you guys for becoming members. That's 4 members today, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much. It really means a lot to me. I certainly do appreciate all of my members. So look forward to your exclusive perks. I don't know what this month's MBG and Friends podcast or gamecast is going to be. We'll figure that out as we get later into the month, but you can look forward to watching the ones that are already out there. Miguel Hooks, you're saying, how much can you put down on pre-orders? I don't know. I'm assuming once pre-orders go live, you can pay the full amount if you wish to do so. I think if you're going to order from places like Amazon, they'll just get your pre-order. Maybe they require a $100 down deposit. If not, they'll just charge you, when it ships out. But that's usually how those things go. But let's get into the first topic here, guys. We're talking about the next PlayStation 5 event, because I know that many of you, just like myself, are eagerly anticipating Sony's next event, or just the next time they're going to talk about the PlayStation 5 in a significant way. We may have a date from a source that I will leave it up to you as to whether or not you should believe them. We have Pnuts Clark, if I'm saying that correctly. You're saying Sony knows the demand will be high. They will capitalize on this. Sony wants to make profit. They are a business. You are 100% correct about that, Clark. That is one thing that people do need to keep in mind. I gotta tell you guys, I wasn't expecting the Ghost of Tsushima gameplay to come up so soon. So give me 1 second, because I kind of want to restart this. I wanted to show that game off a little bit longer. Give me 1 sec, guys, so I can correct this. I do apologize. Okay. The Ghost of Tsushima will come up again, but I just wanted to show this gameplay off a little bit longer because I mean, hey, I spent time recording it, so why not? But yeah, that is something that people do need to keep in mind when it comes to the pricing of the PlayStation 5. Is Sony is very much aware of, as you said, the demand of the PlayStation 5, and it is very high, very, very high. Now, I don't think that means you should anticipate they're going to price gouge. They're not going to do that, but it does mean they may be very comfortable with selling potentially. And I want to prepare people for this because it may be the case. Don't be shocked. And remember, I'm saying this, do not be shocked if you see both versions of the PlayStation 5 come out at a $500 price point. And don't be surprised if when Sony is asked, well, what is the difference between these two consoles? Clearly, there's not a price difference. We know that one's missing a disk drive. Is there anything extra? And don't be surprised if Sony just says no. It's literally just there for people who feel comfortable enough to just go digital only, even if it is the same price. Now, I'm not personally anticipating that. I'm just saying don't be surprised. You are correct. They are a business, they are looking to make profit, but we know how important it is to Sony to get as many PlayStation 5s into people's homes as possible. We know that they do have their own services. We know how much money the PlayStation Store makes Sony. We know how much they care about PlayStation Plus subscriptions and how much money they make off of that. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later, actually, because we're going to go over the rumors and how they were apparently shut down about Xbox Live going free or being removed. Apparently, that's not something anybody should anticipate. So, yeah. But starting with the first topic here, we may have a date for the next PS5 event or reveal. Twitter user Roberto Serrano put out a tweet saying what PlayStation fans are waiting for, with an image of the PlayStation 5 Future of Gaming DualSense controller and a date set for August 20th at 1 p.m. Pacific time. We have Chris B. You're saying PlayStation 5 Digital might have a pack in, like knack, LOL, to justify $499. Yeah, surprise knack 3 announcement bundled in with every digital version of the PlayStation 5. Somehow I feel like that would sell. I think that that would be okay. That would be a meme overnight for sure. And October's very own, once again, you're saying made a YouTube just to be able to sub to your channel. I keep hearing SOCOM, but how do you feel about it being a new Twisted Metal TV show is in production? Um, I think a Twisted Metal is certainly possible. I just don't necessarily know if it's as likely as a game like SOCOM. We're going to talk a little bit more about SOCOM towards the end of this podcast. It's a little topic I have later on. I do not have any inside information or even a significant update, but I know that a lot of people have been asking me to talk about it more because I know that there are a lot of people who are big SOCOM fans and they're very much hoping that we see a return at some point in the future. So, Twisted Metal is possible. They do have a TV show in production. I just don't know if that's necessarily indicative of a game also being in production. And we have JD Bear. My phone's going off here. Let me mute that. I usually do that beforehand. JD Bear, you're saying, MBG, did you see Apple denied Xcloud? This would be a big negative towards the feature's ability to reach a broader user base. I did see that. I actually meant to put that down as a topic, but I do have it on my phone, so we will most likely talk about that a little bit later if I have enough time here. But yeah, there's no doubt that that is a pretty significant blow that Apple is dealing to Xbox because, I mean, you think about how many people have iPhones, you think about how hard Microsoft, especially now, is pushing Xcloud with its full blown release here. And the idea that they will not be able to reach a single Apple user, that's a big blow to xCloud, and I have to imagine that Microsoft is going to try to work something out with Apple as best they can to try to figure something out because the idea that they're just going to like say, well, we can't do anything about it, and maybe they can't. Maybe they just really can't do anything about it, but I have to assume they're going to try their best to get in contact with Apple and sort that out because even for, Sony in the future with PlayStation Now, that could also be a problem. It could be just a problem for any type of cloud-based gaming in the future. And if cloud based gaming does really start to pick up steam, which I don't really care if it does or doesn't, I would prefer it didn't in a significant way. But if it does, Yeah, that's going to be a problem. I see somebody asking what game this is. It's called Mean Greens. Yeah, so anyway, let me continue reading what I have written down here. I said, so this event, Roberto Serrano's coming out here and he's saying this is what PlayStation fans are waiting for, August 20th at 1 p.m. Pacific time. So this may be worth paying attention to, considering this individual, Roberto Serrano, got the past two PlayStation event dates correct. First with the Future of Gaming on June 11th, and then again on August 11th with the latest State of Play. Now, he always says that the dates are subject to change, and this can be seen as a way for him to kind of cover himself in case he ends up being wrong. However, we know that this really is the case, as an event date can change literally at the last second. Everything is subject to change, even when we do have an actual date. Looking back at the June event and how it was announced and then promptly delayed right afterwards because of, worldly events. So, something else that is worth noting is Gamescom is happening between August 27th and the 30th. And I think it's safe to assume that both Sony and Microsoft will be there in a pretty significant way. Regardless of whether or not this leak ends up being true, though, it is 100% safe to say that Sony has some more reveals and announcements for the PS5. You're talking about price, release date, pre orders, a teardown showing the UI and UI features, more gameplay of upcoming PS5 titles, and obviously more surprise game announcements. So, yeah, I find this incredibly interesting. And we have Bojan once again. You're saying the next Xbox is the next Dreamcast. Ouch. I hope that's not true. As much as I'm not a fan of Xbox these days and what they're doing, the last thing I honestly want to see is them announce that they're done making consoles, because I do feel that Sony, in a way, kind of does stand alone, but they're not 100% alone, right? Like, it is nice to see Microsoft still producing consoles and actually trying to put effort into making their consoles appealing, even if it is through a very superficial method of 12 T flops, world's most powerful. I would, I would be pretty upset to see Microsoft just completely exit the console market. I mean, I've been advocating for competition this whole time. I know sometimes it's easy to take digs at Xbox, but we want to see them compete, and so I hope that's not the case, buddy. And we have Magnavolt. You're saying if they show a Metal Gear Solid collection, I will flip out. And yes, I will also flip out if we see if we see anything Metal Gear Solid related announced from any type of PlayStation event. You're gonna see me lose it. I'm gonna lose it because Metal Gear Solid, I think, is I say I think, but I know it's my favorite gaming franchise of all time. It's my favorite series of all time. Solid Snake and Big Boss are my favorite characters. So if we see anything at all, I really hope to see that. And Freeze Vamp, I see you're asking if you can repeat your message. I apologize if I can't get to anybody's messages that are not doing super chats right now, because I'm trying to keep the podcast flowing with the topics, but we will do a Q&A with the chat at the end of the podcast, as we always do. So stay tuned for that, Freeze Vamp. Spawn of Chaos 100, thank you for that donation. But talking about this leaked date, and I'm calling it a leaked date because I do want to emphasize the fact, guys, that this is an individual who got the past two dates correct. Now, he almost kind of made it seem like this time he's taking a guess. He didn't really make it sound like this is what he heard from a source. But again, we have to assume that he's hearing this from somebody, simply because he got the June 11th date correct and he got the August 11th date correct. And I know that we talk a lot about insiders. I know we've been burned in the past by supposed insiders. I know we talk about a lot of rumors and a lot of leaks. I'm always sure to let you guys know, and as is the case with this one, that it might not be true. It could be completely false. And I wouldn't sit here holding your breath, assuming that we will see something on the 20th. Now, even if this was a guess, it's a pretty good guess, because I've been telling you guys that the clock is ticking. Time is running out for both Sony and Microsoft. They can honestly really only go so much longer here without talking about these consoles in other ways. Now we know that Microsoft is going to have something they're going to be saying in August. It's most likely going to have more to do with the Xbox Series X. I've heard there's going to be some type of teardown for that. We know that they have the Xbox Series S model, which we're now hearing rumors that apparently they plan to ship multiple SKUs of the Xbox Series S model, one with a controller and one without, which sounds very bizarre, but they would do this as a way to try to lower that price point any way they can. And I would assume that if Microsoft were to do that with the Xbox Series S model, no controller, they could probably sell it for like $50 less, maybe something along those lines. And if they do that, they could try to maybe sell it as, oh, if you already own an Xbox One, but you want to upgrade and you want to use your Xbox One controller. It is kind of smart. I just don't necessarily know that it's going to really appeal to that many people. And it could create some confusion as well. So hopefully it's not what we see. And I'm looking at this gameplay in the background. It seems as though I'm standing there idle. I guess I must have missed that, so I apologize for that, but I'm sure I'll start moving around again in a minute. True Witty, you're saying GTA 6 timed exclusive. Exclusives matter. PS5. Yeah, I have something to say about that as well. Again, there's a lot to talk about. Arthur, thank you for that donation, and thank you once again, Spawn of Chaos, for that. But I got to tell you guys, when it comes to this date, I believe it. I believe it. Now, the big question is, what will Sony show? Well, it wouldn't surprise me if Sony decided to do something on the 20th of August and then once again at Gamescom. I could see maybe Sony on the 20th announcing pre orders or pricing potentially and stuff like that. And then later on at Gamescom, maybe having more game announcements. I could see it going in that order. I don't necessarily, the big question I honestly have at this point, guys, when it comes to Sony's plans and how they're going to reveal more about the PS5 and talk more about the PS5, like we know a teardown's coming. Maybe that's what could be on the 20th. Maybe the teardown is going to be on the 20th or the UI. Thank you once again, Spawn of Chaos. I appreciate those donations. Um, if it's not a teardown, it could be the price or pre-order. But the big question I have, honestly, that I simply don't have an answer to, and I'm just going to be very interested to see what Sony's approach here is. Can we expect like a future of gaming event part two? Right? Because I do think that's what people are kind of hoping for. And I'm not necessarily sure that that's what we're going to get. Right? Like, I would love to see another full blown PS5 event, but I don't think they could make it an hour long. And if they were to do that, they would have to show significant gameplay chunks, say, of Spider Man Miles Morales, which they could do, right? Like they could maybe use this second event to not only reveal some more surprise game announcements, but also use it as a way to show more extended gameplay demos of upcoming PS5 games. Because that's also something that Sony has to take time to show, you would assume, before they launch their console, even if it's just for a single game, and that game being Spider Man Miles Morales. People ask me all the time, can we expect another PlayStation 5 themed state of play? And honestly, I think yes, you can. But honestly, the only thing you might see at this PlayStation 5 themed state of play, if that is in fact what we end up getting, is an extended 20-minute gameplay demonstration of Spider Man Miles Morales, just like we got for Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2. Not only is it very effective, but it makes a lot of sense because surely we're going to see the game in action before it comes out, right? So, just keep your eyes peeled, guys. Again, I want to just reiterate one last time that the reason why I'm taking time to mention this at all, and I'm not sure if I'm going to make a separate video on it. I might, because again, I know not everybody watches the podcasts and not everybody sticks around for 30 minutes. But, I do think that it is worth paying attention to this individual. He got the last two dates correct. He did get one thing wrong when it comes to PlayStation 5 pre-orders, but still, when it comes to PlayStation-related event dates, he's been on the mark. So August 20th could very well be the next time we hear Sony talk about the PS5 to some capacity. I don't know what it would be. And yes, I see people mentioning SOCOM. Again, I'll talk a little bit about that later on. I actually had a really bizarre dream about SOCOM last night that I kind of want to talk about. It's really dumb, but it's kind of funny. And it also makes me think, like, really, like, are these the deep fears that live inside of my subconscious mind? They have to do with SOCOM, a video game. Yeah. So stay tuned for that. But let me know your thoughts about this, guys. Like, do you think that, do you think we're going to see an event date announced or something PlayStation 5 related on August 20th. Like, what do you think the likelihood of that is? What do you think the likelihood of this individual being correct? I think the chances are pretty high that this is correct. And let me know what you think it could be. Do you think it will be a teardown, or do you think it will be something else? It is worth noting, and this is, I guess, the last thing I'll say about this before moving on to the next topic. It is worth noting that we did cover a 4chan post earlier this week, which did mention SOCOM. But they also mentioned that Sony in the next 2 to 3 weeks max will be doing a teardown of the PS5, and they will be talking about price and pre-orders. So this could just again be somebody guessing, but they seemingly got some stuff correct before it actually happened. So I don't know, guys. My advice to everybody listening right now, those of you who are looking forward to more PlayStation 5 news and info, this is a month you want to pay close attention. I wouldn't wake up every day anticipating something big, but the chances of Sony going the remainder of this month without talking about the PS5 to any capacity are zero. Absolutely zero. There's no way. So stay tuned. It's going to happen sooner rather than later. We are getting closer and closer to launch as each day goes by. And it's up to Sony and Microsoft to really start kind of, you know, really making some big moves with these new consoles, and we're going to see that soon. So we are going to move on to the next topic, and I want to ask you guys if you could do me a big favor. We have over 1,500 people watching, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. Be sure to hit that like button. It really helps the podcast out and the stream out more than you know. It's actually, it really is a big deal for YouTube and their algorithms. So yeah, if you want to see that shared out, or help share it out in a, really algorithmic way, I guess, just hit that like button for me. And so yeah, I don't know if I failed to like properly edit this gameplay you guys are seeing in the background. I notice I'm just sitting here at the menu. Not sure why I'm just sitting at the menu. I thought I cut that part out, but there I am sitting at the menu, so you can get a glimpse at the menu of this game. How to speedrun. Thank you so much for that, buddy. You're saying, hi, MBG. Which ways are you going to choose to buy PlayStation 5, online or retailer? Um, I'm probably going to try to go with an online purchase if I can get it through Amazon or Best Buy or wherever. That just would be the easiest thing for me. Obviously, it does make me a little bit nervous that if I do that, there's always the chance that shipments could be delayed and I might not get my PS5 the day I'm anticipating to get it. But that would, just given everything that's going on, I think that would be the easiest way. If I can't, then I will have to look towards going to an actual retail store and seeing if I can make it happen that way. But yeah, I'm a little bit nervous, guys. You got, for those of you who've been listening for a little while, you will know that I'm certainly a little bit nervous that I will not be able to get my hands on a PS5 when I want one. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to secure a pre-order, but hopefully that won't be a problem. A lot of you guys have been asking me to do some type of unboxing, which, yeah, we will most likely do that. I want to say road to 100K PS5 unboxing. Can we get to 100K before the PS5 comes out or by the time it comes out? If we do, I'll do a special unboxing. And here I am again, for some reason in the gameplay, spawning in and just standing there. You can tell I definitely did not properly edit this video for some reason, or this gameplay, so I do apologize for that, guys. I gotta be better about that in the future. But we're gonna move right along here to the next topic. Okay, there we go. I'm moving now. For a few weeks now, there have been rumors circulating that Xbox Live would be discontinued by Microsoft and multiplayer on, or across, I should say, the entire Xbox platform would be free. These rumors started for three reasons. The first being the 12-month Xbox Live Gold subscription was removed from sale, and Microsoft confirmed that it was not an error. Shortly after that, we started to hear multiple insiders and industry figures say that it seems like Microsoft is in fact getting ready to reveal that the multiplayer paywall will be going away. Finally, Microsoft updated its services agreement and removed references to Xbox Live, which fueled further speculation. Well, we have an actual official update on these rumors from Microsoft, and this is what a spokesperson told VGC. The update to Xbox Online services in Microsoft, or the Microsoft Service Agreements refers to the underlying Xbox service that includes features like cross saves and friend requests. The language update is intended to distinguish that underlying service and the paid Xbox Live Gold subscriptions. There are no there are no changes being made to the experience of the service or Xbox Live Gold. So that's the most important thing you guys need to understand is they are confirming in an official statement there are no changes being made. And so one last thing I wrote down here is it is important to understand that if you read this statement carefully, it does confirm that Xbox Live is not going anywhere and it's not being, removed, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't end up being free. So you need to keep that in mind. We have Spawn of Chaos 100. You're saying Serrano's tweet had a link to a song. Thoughts? I have no idea. I saw that song. I have no idea what it could mean. I don't know what he's trying to hint at. I honestly don't know, man. I wish I could say more, but we also have Invader Brain. You're saying I say August 20th for the PS5 event and November 17th for release date. Yeah, you know what? I think that's a great assumption, a great guess. Could very well be true. November 17th does sound like a plausible date. I don't know what day that falls on. I would assume it's like a Friday or something. Yakarumi, you're saying not to be a wet blanket towards Sony, but how long do you think they can be king of the mountain, considering Xbox has no plans on changing anytime at all? To be honest, I think as long as Sony doesn't get complacent, as long as they don't take complete advantage in a really terrible way of the positioning they're in and assume that they're always going to be in everybody's good graces and assume that they can just win without trying. I think as long as they do that, they can remain atop the mountain for as long as they want to, honestly, until because it is pretty clear that Microsoft doesn't plan to really go up against Sony in that way, right? To me, it seems very clear that Microsoft will almost like they'll try in random attempts to be like, we're competitive, but then it's like very obvious you're not competitive, or at least you're not trying to compete in that same way. And so I think that as long as Sony continues to do what they've been doing, I think they'll be fine. And so, actually, I want to kind of take this topic we were just talking about with the Xbox Live. I'm going to place it on the back burner for right now. But there you go, you guys. I mean, just to kind of follow up on what we've been talking about, because we have been discussing this rumor for quite some time now, at least the past couple of weeks, where like, could it be actually happening? Like, could this be real? Is it possible that one of Microsoft's mic drop moments for this year is they're going to announce they're removing the multiplayer paywall? Now, they still could. I need that to be understood. Just because the spokesperson is wording it this way, saying it if you take it for face value, then at this point I would not anticipate anything significant, because we just don't know if they're just trying to word it a specific way. But I'm taking it for face value. I'm going to assume that the multiplayer paywall is not going to happen. And so I don't sit back and think, yeah, it's just a matter of time. No, I think that there's a lot of money that they would be leaving on the table that you're talking about like $1 billion a year potentially that they're going to leave on the table. Does it really make sense for any business who's looking to make a profit to do that? I don't necessarily think so. But again, we have to wait and see. But this is what an official spokesperson is saying. iSiler18, you're saying, I find it amazing how the Avengers was labeled as average since it's been shown plenty of times, and now suddenly everyone has canceled their pre-orders because of Spidey. Yeah, just to touch upon that for a second here, the whole Spider-Man exclusivity thing, if there's one thing that I think has been made very clear ever since this announcement, first of all, in my opinion, and I know that some people get upset when I say this, but I see a lot of people saying face reveal. Guys, look, if a face reveal is ever going to happen, I'm going to let you know now. It's going to happen when we hit some major milestone on the channel, say like maybe 100,000 subscribers, maybe 200,000. I have to decide, but it's not going to happen right now. So I appreciate it. Um, I've told people before, anybody who is wondering what I look like, because I have been on camera in the past, there have been people who told me that I look, and I guess this is just kind of keeping with the central theme of my channel here, I look a lot like Deacon St. John from Days Gone. I've been told I look somewhat like Keanu Reeves. I've been told somewhat like I look a little bit like Shia LaBeouf or Tom Hardy. So if you're wondering what I look like, maybe now you have a little bit of an idea. Just blend all those people together, and I guess that's what I look like. Although I do need to get a haircut desperately. So, yet another reason I don't plan to do a face reveal at this moment in time. But anyway, getting back on topic here, um, I think that if there's one thing we learned, and this is, I see some people saying, "Damn, those are some high praise comparisons." I'm not saying that. Like, look, I'm a straight male. I'm not gonna sit here and say what I think about how good or not good looking I think another male is, because I just don't see it that way. But that's what I've been told. So, thank you. Um, excuse me. Spud, you're saying eyebrow reveal at 100K. Yeah, that dude, I'm telling you, when the day ever comes, if it ever, I'm sure it will. Yeah, that's the thing too, is his name is Muscle Bound Gamer. I think people are anticipating I'm some ripped out, roided dude, and I'm just not. Like, I'm definitely not. I'm very far from being a twig, but I'm also not like completely like veined out and ripped, shredded out of my mind, as Dr. Disrespect would put it. But especially because of the quarantine stuff and everything that's been going on, it's been very difficult to kind of keep up a solid routine. But anyway, yeah, 6'5" and ripped. Yeah, I don't think so. But anyway, getting back on topic here, because you guys are distracting me. You guys are making me go off the rails. We have Aaron Rodgers saying, "What are the chances of the lighting on PS5 being RGB and changeable?" I mean, it sounds cool and it is possible. It probably is something they could easily implement if they wanted. But considering they're all about the blue color scheme, I just don't think they're going to do that. We have iSiler18 saying MBG has Abby's build confirmed. To be honest, I think in some cases, Abby may have. No, I mean, I don't want to say she was like buffer than me, but maybe now she is, considering it's I've gotten kind of out of shape lately. So, Darren, you're saying hi MBG, just some cash to thank you for all the content you regularly provide. I'm loving Ghost of Tsushima, even though I didn't think I would. Well, thank you so much for that, buddy. Thank you guys for all your donations and your support, and I'm glad you enjoy the regular content. And I'm happy to hear you are enjoying Ghost of Tsushima. It's a really great game. But all right, guys, getting back on topic here, the thing that I've learned from watching this whole Spider-Man debacle unfold is two things. First of all, people are babies. People cry a lot and they get really dramatic. Now, look, I get dramatic, and I know that a lot of my complaining and my rants can also be perceived as crying and whatnot. So I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm any better. But in this case, I just feel like, is it really all that? Is it all that? Is it the point we need to like actually freak out that much and spaz and make it sound like you're gonna boycott the game? I get it. I'm not saying that if you have a genuine problem with it that you shouldn't say something about it. If you genuinely believe this is a poor practice and it needs to change, then say something. But to sit there, just keep it simple, right? Like, if you don't like it, don't support it. Don't buy it. Don't go buy the PS4 version of Avengers and play as Spider-Man. That's the best way you send a signal to Sony. But what I've tried telling these individuals, and again, I've gotten some pushback on this, and I think it's just because I'm taking a very hardline stance here, which is, you can do that. You can be the person that decides, I'm boycotting this game. I'm not going to buy this game. I'm not going to support this business practice. The chances of that changing anything, I know the whole gamers rise up thing, you and literally thousands of other people could potentially do that. However, that's not going to stop millions of people from buying the game, and specifically buying the PS4 version to get Spider-Man. If you want to know why Sony does this, it's because it works. And I need to mention this as well, because the whole anti-consumer thing, suddenly there seems to be some Xbox fans who are trying to make it seem as though Sony is just so anti-consumer and they're ruining the industry and they're poisoning the industry and blah, blah, blah. I want to let you know that, Microsoft, during their most recent July 23rd game showcase, had a segment dedicated to just console exclusives. And there was about 20. I think there was actually over 20 games that are console exclusive to their next generation Xbox and potentially the Xbox One. So if you want to use that as ammunition, you simply cannot, because Microsoft is just as guilty. And we have, here we go. This is where it's going to get interesting. We have even more potential. I have to emphasize the word potential because we don't know if it's true or not, but potentially some more evidence that Microsoft is actually no different than Sony. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that a multi-billion dollar, near trillion dollar company is no different than the other multi-billion dollar company? Because at the end of the day, they're all only interested in one thing, and that is, how can we get that money in your wallet into our hands? That's what they're interested in. And that's not a bad thing. That's just business. That's how every company operates at the end of the day. But what is this evidence I'm speaking of? Well, I am certainly going to make a separate video on this because, again, I don't expect everybody to be about an hour into this listening. And I think this is certainly worth making a separate video on. So, for those of you who've been watching the content this past week, you'll know that we've been talking about how Emron Khan from Kind of Funny Games, who seems to have some type of inside information, he is formerly of Game Informer. That's why I kind of believe this. I mean, he worked for the world's biggest video game magazine, and obviously they get exclusive coverage and all this stuff. So there's no doubt that he most likely, has some inside contacts. And whoever these contacts are, they must know a lot, or at least enough. We have Aki or Akai. You're saying, by the way, Xbox tried to do similar exclusives according to Emron Khan, but didn't want to pay. Also, Xbox has a smaller user base, so it's harder. Yes, we are. Thank you for that, buddy. We are literally about to talk about that exact topic. Leon Engel, you're saying Xbox people will be mad when Sony says more exclusive timed events are coming. Yes, there is a lot more coming apparently, and the crying has only just begun. So make sure you don't consume too much salt right now, because from the tears, because you're gonna want to, you're gonna want to save some for later. iSiler18, you're saying when they say anti-consumer, they think they speak for every consumer. There's a reason why the game went to #1 on Amazon. Yes, that's the thing. I'm not saying, I know that there's people who are like, how could you advocate for these toxic anti-consumer practices? It's not so much that I'm advocating for them as much as I'm a PlayStation owner and I've invested in the console, not because Sony strong-armed me into doing so, but because they offered stuff that to me looks really appealing and it was really high quality and I really enjoyed it. And now I get to enjoy even more benefits. I feel like a first class. I feel like that's how Sony treats me as a PlayStation owner and supporter. They make me feel like I'm first class, and that feels great as a consumer. Like knowing that I'm going to pay the same price for Marvel's Avengers when it comes out on PlayStation as Xbox and PC players, but I get a whole character with his apparently he gets his own story arc and everything. And I'm just like, damn, thanks, Sony. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe they do this. I'd just be like, look, it's easier for me as a consumer to turn to other consumers and say, you might want to buy a PlayStation. You might want to start buying your games on PlayStation. That's what I'm going to say. D-Doc, you're saying apparently Tetris Unlimited can no longer be played remotely on PlayStation because Xbox wants Xcloud exclusivity. I haven't heard anything about that, and that sounds really strange if it's true. But if it is true, how can you continue to defend Xbox and make it seem like they're not doing the same thing? How can you continue to walk around the internet and act as though this is some kind of practice that is long dead and is long been forgotten, and any company who's still doing this practice is out of touch? Like, no, it's still very much very prevalent and prominent for multiple reasons in the gaming industry, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere anytime soon, regardless of how much you cry about it or complain about it or boycott it. So how to speedrun. You're saying Xbox did the exact same thing, and this is how console gaming always is, even back in the Nintendo days. I don't know why Xbox gamers were so triggered on this, since PS4 fans didn't complain them yet. I think it's honestly just because it's a big deal. I think that's why. I think it just, the bigger, excuse me, the bigger the deal is, I think the more upset, people who do prefer to game on Xbox or PC are going to get. And that's understandable. Like, from a human level, I totally get it. Like, if it was the other way around, I would be upset. But then I would also rationally think to myself, okay, this isn't going to change. So I should probably go invest into a PlayStation. Good job, Sony. You did it. Maybe not good job, but it worked. For as reluctant as somebody may be, it still might be worthwhile for you to just, pony up the cash and just go buy a PlayStation if you can. Viper XT. Microsoft making some consumer friendly moves is the only reason it appears that Sony is being anti consumer. They are just doing what's been done before. Exactly. There's no doubt that Microsoft is doing some things that are pro consumer. And I think that's great. But we also have to be realistic and rational and use our brains and realize, why is Microsoft all of a sudden being so pro consumer? Could it possibly be because they have been losing in a significant way when it comes to mind share and, more importantly, market share in the console gaming space, in the gaming space in general, to Nintendo and Sony, and sometimes even PC? They've just joined PC. They said we're part of PC now in a big way. Could that be why? Surely not. Sure, no, that is why. Look at Microsoft in the past. Look at what they did and how they conducted themselves when they were the leader, or seemingly were, in they had the mind share. It's expected from every company. It's how it works, guys. Um, Mo Guns Jackson, you're saying, are we going to forget that Microsoft held Tomb Raider, a game that sold more on PlayStation and had its biggest fan base there, hostage for a year? Yeah, I mean, look, people are making it sound like, oh, Phil won't do that anymore. Like, no, I'm pretty sure Phil won't do that anymore, not for morality reasons, but because it probably didn't work out for them. I mean, did you see how they released that game the same day? I think it was like Fallout 4, if I'm not mistaken, came out, and it was just like, really, really, like, that's what you're gonna do on an already limited, you already have a limited console base, and that I promise you that game bombed, not critically, but commercially because of that. Oe Yakarumi, you're saying Sony is that game, Red Rover, and everyone else is getting run over. Yeah, it does seem like that sometimes, doesn't it? Graham, you're saying Xbox started the online subscription service plus timed exclusive third party games. Call of Duty PS3 was free to play online, and it was only, I don't know if you forgot to finish typing there, buddy, but yeah, that is true. Is like, we have to understand that some of these, anti consumer, I mean, look, requiring people to pay an online subscription fee just to play multiplayer games is as anti-consumer as it gets. Who started that? Microsoft. Now, I understand these rumors about them getting rid of it have gotten people excited, as it's got me excited because that would be great. Seems like it's not going to happen. It always seems like it wasn't going to happen. It may still, but I don't think so. I'm taking the spokesperson's word on this one. But yeah, let's not forget. Let's just not try to make it seem like one company is more innocent than the other. Once you realize that these companies need to be held accountable, and that's why I'm saying, like, if you really think like this is an anti-consumer practice that you don't want to support, then voice your opinion on that and do something that could actively go against it. But just understand, you may very well be fighting a losing battle that will be lost, not by a little, but by a lot, because you'll find that most people are understanding that these are businesses, it's part of the business. And in some cases, I know there's some people out there who's like, never accept it, never accept it. In some cases, it may just be more practical and beneficial to just say, okay, this is the way it is. It is what it is. And that's okay. And it's not going to change. You know, I hate that, it's the tried and true saying, if you can't beat them, join them. And in this case, join PlayStation. You really won't regret it. Anywho, Microsoft been playing victim to the media this past year between Phil and the exclusives comments, and now this Apple thing, blaming it on them. Yeah, it's a weird, Microsoft seems to find themselves in very strange situations that I don't see other companies finding themselves in, and it's just like, you know, I came across this quote from Jim Ryan. This was during the June 11th PlayStation 5 reveal event, the future of gaming. The last thing he said, I believe, before he just you know, allowed the games to show themselves and to be revealed, was he said, "All right, that's enough talk from me. We're going to let the games do the talking for us or something along those lines. And it's just like the Sony is a shark. The Jim Ryan is a shark, and I know it's so interesting to me because we remember apparently there was a, if rumors were to be believed, there was like some type of power struggle between Sean Layden and Jim Ryan and management, and a bunch of people had to go, and it just seems like there's like kind of an internal conflict on like which is the better direction for PlayStation to go into next generation. And one side won out over the other. And this is nothing against Sean Layden because I have absolutely no idea if any of this is even remotely true. But we do know that there was internal struggles and a lot of restructuring right before we went into 2020 at the start of a new generation. We have Aki once again, you're saying, or Akai, you're saying losing battle. Yes, Xbox is non existent in the EU. That is true, unfortunately. But what I'm trying to say here is that, a lot of people were concerned about Jim Ryan being the one that is now in charge of PlayStation and the new face of PlayStation to a certain extent. And what, the position he's in, he like runs everything. He's like at the very top of Sony. People need to understand that there's only like maybe one or two people above him, or maybe even just one. He's at the very top. And so I was not concerned because I know that Jim Ryan has made some comments in the past that just didn't really resonate with people, and a lot of people were like, "Wow, this guy's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's talking about." But I always had this feeling with Jim Ryan, like this dude has been with PlayStation, and so is Sean Layden and others. But Jim Ryan's been with PlayStation since the beginning, and I remember hearing some of the interviews he gave and some of the things he talked about back when the Xbox One and the PS4 were being revealed. And I just listened to the way he spoke, and I'm going to be real right now, and I'm just making an assumption, but you can learn a lot from someone's demeanor and just their body language and kind of the way they say things. Jim Ryan is not playing games, dude. This guy, if he can kill Xbox, he will do it. If he could kill Nintendo, he would do it. If it means that we can be number one and we can be the best business out there, like we can get the most business. Like Jim Ryan comes off to me as that type of businessman where he's not like he's the opposite of Phil Spencer. He's not out here giving interviews all the time saying what he thinks people want to hear and what will make him sound like the nice good guy who's completely in touch with all of the gaming landscape. No, he's just like, yeah, we're going to do what we need to do to ensure PlayStation is not just kind of successful, but as successful as it can be. We want to be the market leader, and we're going to make the moves that we feel we need to make to ensure that, whether that comes in the form of acquiring studios like Insomniac, or even if it's not that, acquiring third party exclusive games, which we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that. Uh, Jay Water is what I'll call you. During the 360 versus PS3 era, Sony literally had to rely on great exclusives and hardware to compete versus third-party exclusives with Microsoft. And yeah, that's the thing, is you saw what happens when when the individuals in charge of running PlayStation get a little too comfortable, maybe way too comfortable, and they get too arrogant and too cocky, and they believe that they can just completely dominate without even lifting a finger. They learn the hard way, like, no, when you're on top, you got to work really hard to ensure you stay on top, or you will be shocked at just how quickly you'll get knocked off. And I think Sony learned that lesson the hard way, and it's a very valuable lesson. And yes, if you look towards the PS3 generation, I think that's when I think Sony always knew the importance of exclusives, but they really learned the importance of like really going all in with exclusive content. Like if there's anything that's going to save the PlayStation brand at this point, potentially, or the console, it's our dedication to exclusive games and really just letting it rip. You know what I mean? And this is why I just never really agreed with the idea of Jim Ryan being the wrong person to be in charge because, we didn't know. Like, who knows what Sony, what the outlook of PlayStation right now, or the, I guess you could say their plan would be going forward if it was somebody else in charge. Maybe it would be much more like Xbox. Maybe they wouldn't be saying they believe in generations. Maybe it would be completely different. And so, I just think I'm not trying to give Jim Ryan all the credit because it's obviously not just him, but I'm just saying he's the one up top right now. And you have to imagine that he's the guy that ultimately determines, like, are we doing cross gen games or not? Yes or no? He's the guy that says, no, it's all about next gen. And he's the guy who says, what should our focus be? Should it be just raw power? Obviously talking to Mark Cerny. This is just me assuming. And Mark Cerny's like, look, Jim, I think maybe we want to go all in with the SSD. This is what the devs are telling us. Jim Ryan didn't have to greenlight that. He didn't have to trust Mark Cerny. He could have said, you know what? That guy, Phil Spencer over there, seems to, what I'm hearing is that it's all about the power and the T flops. So we have to have the most T flops. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just how I'm assuming it works on the inside. I could be completely wrong. I probably sound like a jackass, to be completely honest, because I have no idea. But this is just how I kind of imagine it, because I'm seeing the way things are unfolding. I'm like, wow, as a PlayStation fan, as a hardcore console gamer, I couldn't ask for anything more, because they're doing literally exactly what I would hope them to see them do, as somebody who's looking to buy a PlayStation 5. Dustin, you're saying it won't be anti-consumer if everyone has a PS5. Exactly. Exactly. Now, I'm going to read this article live to you guys again. I'm most likely going to do a separate video on this because it's in my opinion, if it's true, it is extremely telling, and it makes me feel like, holy crap, does Sony have a lot that I think they have locked up that we're not going to we might not learn about it all this year, but I think people are literally going to just be utterly shocked. That's the vibe I'm getting here. So, over the past few days, we have started learning more of Sony's strategy regarding PlayStation 5 exclusivity deals, and a recent report suggests that the Japanese company is being particularly aggressive in this regard. Speaking on the Reset Era forums, Kinda Funny's Imran Khan provided some new information regarding the PS5 deals he talked about yesterday, saying that there isn't a major third-party publisher that Sony hasn't approached. There is not a major third party out there that Sony failed to approach asking what kind of deals they could work out. Some had content, some had games, some had content and games. According to Khan, Microsoft was willing to make offers as well, but they didn't want to pay the asking price, as Sony went with some very high offers in the first place to secure these PlayStation 5 deals. It's not like Microsoft was not willing to offer, they just didn't want to pay the asking price because Sony approached with pretty high numbers in the first place. Khan also highlighted how the PlayStation 5 Advantage branding and console exclusive wording will be seen a lot in the next few years. That PlayStation Advantage branding and console exclusive wording are both going to get a lot of use in the next few years. So your boy Snag, you're saying, what do you think about Sony spending billions of dollars to get big third-party exclusives? Sony is not messing around. Well, you know, I got to tell you guys, if these comments from Imran Khan are true, this is kind of insane, because we have been hearing reports about this. And to me, if they are to be believed, Sony is not messing around here, guys. Like, they are apparently they're outbidding Microsoft, essentially, is what they're doing. I want you to think about that. Now, I know everybody talks about how Microsoft has so much more money than Sony, and they could spend so much more money than Sony, and that is true, but it also comes down to what exactly they're being allocated, right? So this is why I want to tell you another reason why I support PlayStation more than Xbox at this point in time. Because from a company standpoint, Sony is the parent company of PlayStation. Microsoft is the parent company of Xbox. And the big difference between the two companies, Microsoft and Sony, is Xbox is very, very far from being Microsoft's bread and butter. Okay, Xbox is not going to be the thing that makes Microsoft potentially in the long run a $1 trillion company. Cloud will be in cloud computing. And the majority of the money that Microsoft has made and continues to make as a company, you talk about them having these billions and billions and billions of dollars, it's not from Xbox. It's not. I mean, Xbox is a part of that, but it's not a significant part of the piece of the pie, I guess you could say. Sony, however, PlayStation is everything to them. I mean, Sony, yeah, they have movies, they have music, but if you actually break it down, PlayStation is their bread and butter. Sony now understands, and the individuals who are up top at Sony, like the highest executives, again, I think Jim Ryan being one of them, they now realize that Sony's future is in gaming, in PlayStation, in not just doubling down, not just tripling down, but quadrupling down on PlayStation. And that, as a gamer, as somebody who's been with PlayStation for a long time, I fell off for a while, but I was there with the PS1. I was there with the PS2. I got to say, that is incredibly exciting because the idea that eventually down the line, Sony, like 90% of Sony or 75% of Sony, if it's not already, could be PlayStation. I mean, they're going to put more money into it. And this is proof of that, if this is true, because you, you're going to tell me Sony is willing to pay more money for these deals to ensure the success of their console and the PlayStation brand than Microsoft is? What kind of confidence does that tell you Microsoft has as a company in Xbox? You know, where you're having a company that's apparently nowhere near as cash rich as you are, outbidding you, willing to pay more money. And yeah, we've been hearing rumors that it's like literally billions of dollars that Sony. And when you hear when you hear from Emran Khan that you know, when you hear from Emran Khan that they are there's not a single third party they haven't approached. Dude, that gets my mind racing. Like, okay, what exactly are you hinting at here, man? Like what deals do you know about? If what you're saying is true and your sources are correct, what deals have we not learned about? Now, I want to take a moment to talk about GTA 6 because this is something a lot of people have been running with. Okay. We have Akai once again. You're saying agreed. Xbox's smaller user base makes getting exclusives harder. Developers need a lot of money to make up for the loss of sales on PlayStation. Yes, that's another thing as well. That is something that Sony can flex pretty hard, where like they can just be like, check this out. Like, look at our install base. Like, look, even though we're gonna pay you to make up for what you might lose, you're probably gonna make out way better in the end because we got a lot of people that are ready to buy your game. And that's another advantage of huge advantage where sometimes it really just isn't about the cash because you have to imagine that there may be a chance that if both Sony and Microsoft are approaching a third party to try and strike an exclusive deal, they may be more lenient on how much money they're actually going to ask from Sony compared to Microsoft. Because with Microsoft, you are taking a bigger risk where it's like, well, how many millions of people are we going to sell our game to? Oh, this amount. And then, but your competition has literally double that, so we're going to have to ask more money from you up front. And that's where Microsoft may just be like, you know what, forget it. We're not going to do this. Like it's too much money up front because we don't even know how well this game is going to sell. We don't even know if this is going to sell consoles. And this is another reason why it's, in my opinion, a big deal and important to acknowledge that Sony still cares very much about the console. They care about getting this console in people's homes. Microsoft doesn't. Microsoft is like, hey, if you want it, it's there. Go ahead. We don't care. You know, treating you like second class, third class. You know what I mean? It's just not good. And so, talking about GTA 6 here for a moment, guys, look, there was something that I didn't mention in my video talking about this because I did put out a video and it did pretty well. It seems like a lot of people were interested in knowing like what these big deals could potentially be. And one of the games I speculated upon was GTA 6. This is a game that a lot of people have been talking about. Your boy Snag, you're saying apparently Sony paid Rockstar $750 million. I don't know why. So, look, I'm going to be real with you guys right now. You got to be real careful where you're hearing this from because there's a lot of people who will just literally make things up. And you have to understand that there are so few people who would actually know that information. You know what I mean? Like you have honestly, if Sony paid 3/4 of $1 million, $1 billion, I mean, right? Almost $1 billion for some type of GTA 6 exclusivity. How many people would be aware of that and have that knowledge? How many people really would know that? I'm going to tell you right now, for a fact, very few people. And those people who are aware, the chances of them telling somebody about that, knowing that they could literally the next day have their head on a platter because of it, yeah, you have to be realistic in what you choose to believe here. Now, What I'm going to tell you is this: the reason why GTA, to a certain extent, in some capacity, is seemingly more likely, or one of the more likely candidates, is because when people think, let me ask you guys this, because this is going to be interesting. When you think about GTA 6, what pops in your mind? Okay, because I'll be honest with you. The first thing that pops in my mind is the biggest game ever made. I'm talking like they're gonna reveal it, and it's just gonna be the biggest game ever made. GTA 6. When that game comes out, it's gonna be a full, complete, massive world. I'm gonna be honest with you guys right now. I highly, 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 highly doubt that's what GTA 6 is gonna be. I would suggest you take a good look at the launch of GTA 5 and understand that that's probably the last time you're going to see uh, a traditional GTA game launch. Now, does that mean that Rockstar is not going to uh, want to hype up a new game? Like, are you saying GTA 6 isn't going to be a real thing? Well, we have to understand. Well, first off, we have True Witty saying Starfield can be PlayStation 5 times Sony is buddy with Bethesda Game Studio. Yes, that could be another one. But when it comes to the whole GTA thing, I want you to really think about this, okay? I want you to understand that what people, I think, are not realizing with the announcement that GTA 5 is coming to the next gen consoles, it's not GTA 5, as far as I'm aware. It's GTA Online. GTA Online, and I'm almost positive this has been confirmed. I don't have it in front of me, that's why I'm saying that. But I'm pretty sure it's been confirmed that GTA 5 is not part of this thing, right? It could be. Maybe it could be sold separately, or it could be free with it. But they're making it clear that GTA Online is going to exist as its own thing on next gen consoles. And they're talking about it being enhanced and expanded. I don't think people understand the significance of the word expanded. I mean, surely I don't have to give you a definition of what that means, because you all know what the word expanded means. It's an expansion. Okay, we're gonna see GTA Online expanded. Now, am I saying that you're gonna see GTA 6 basically just be GTA Online 2.0? No, not necessarily. What I think is going to happen, and what is most likely, and this, in my opinion, makes this deal between Sony and Rockstar very believable, it's this: if Rockstar decided a while ago, keep in mind, Rockstar and Take Two Interactive decided to cancel single player DLC that would have sold like crazy. I need you to understand that. That single player GTA 5 DLC would have sold insane numbers. That would basically would have been like, it would have sold as well as GTA 5. Okay. They decided it was more important to scrap that and work on GTA Online. Do you guys remember hearing reports that apparently GTA 6 is not necessarily in early development, but it's going, like, Rockstar and Take Two Interactive are considering altering how they release the game, where they're considering maybe, and also as a way to mitigate crunch potentially as well and control it, is maybe doing something different, where they're going to release the first part of GTA 6 and then the next part will come later. What does that sound like to you? What does that sound like to you? Does that sound like a full game? Well, no, that doesn't sound like a full $60 game. Well, then what else does it sound like? Sounds like an expansion, a massive expansion. And when you think, well, could they really do that? Could they like, will it be called GTA 6? Could they call it GTA 6? They could. They could call it whatever they want. They could call it a GTA 6 expansion. And it could very well come in the form of, we created a whole nother area. I mean, we've been hearing rumors for years that GTA 6 is going to take place in Vice City. It's going to take place in modern day Vice City. It's going to take place in Liberty City. The latest rumor from an insider who's been correct in the past about having inside info about Rockstar and the future of GTA. They're saying that this holiday or early 2021, Rockstar is going to announce that there's going to be a full-blown Liberty City expansion uh, for GTA Online. And this is why they're justifying reselling it. Keep in mind, when they talk about the game being resold, it sounds like they plan to sell GTA Online separately. as in you can get a physical copy of it. You can buy it separately in the store. It doesn't sound like it's going to go free to play. It's going to be free to play or free to PlayStation 5 users for the first 3 months. But I'm really going on about this because it just seems very likely to me that if there is some type of major exclusivity deal between whatever the next story in the GTA universe is, whether that's GTA 6 or this Liberty City massive expansion. I mean, if you're talking about them announcing Liberty City is going to be an expansion, people would then wonder, well, do we get any single player content? Maybe you do. Maybe that's part of the expansion is you get a certain amount of single player content, but it's also the biggest update that GTA Online has ever seen. Again, GTA Online, the thing that Take-Two Interactive cares way more about than single player experiences. Keep in mind, guys, Dan Houser left Rockstar. Dan Houser, one of the founders. This dude has worked on every single GTA. Why do you think he may have left? Do you think it could possibly be because Take-Two Interactive decided we're altering what GTA 6 is going to be, and it may not have nearly as big of a single player story campaign that people may be anticipating? Do you think that maybe this is how Sony was able to strike this deal, for as unrealistic as it may sound? Keep in mind, back with GTA 4, and we saw this with GTA 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2 as well, between the relationship between Rockstar and Sony. But back during the 360 days, GTA 4 got, if I'm not mistaken, they got the single player DLC expansions 30 days early. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct in that they got the Ballad of Gay Tony and the Lost and the Damned 30 days early, and those were huge expansions. Like that was like a whole new single player story. Okay, and you're gonna tell me that you couldn't see Rockstar doing that exact same thing with a Liberty City expansion for GTA Online and have it be 30-day timed exclusive for Sony's PS5? I don't know, man. To me, that sounds like exactly what's going to happen. So, Mr. Bills could be Bully 2 since Bully was a PS2 exclusive. Yes, that's something else that people forget is, do you guys, not you guys, but the people who are so against this idea, do you forget that GTA 3 and Vice City and San Andreas, I believe, were all timed exclusives and those were full games? The idea of GTA 6 coming anytime soon, yeah, it's not. It doesn't seem like it's coming anytime remotely soon. But what sounds like it could be coming fairly soon is what could be perceived as GTA 6, that being, oh, look at this updated rendition of Liberty City or Vice City, a massive, like just a massive expansion, an entire new city to explore with new missions and new characters and returning characters. I'm telling you guys, I I know I'm taking a lot of guesses here and shots in the dark, but I'm telling you, I could very well see that being a thing. And yeah, I just very, very interesting stuff to me. So the point is, guys, because I got a little bit off track here. I know I'm just rambling a lot, and ranting about GTA, but the point here is it seems that Sony is not playing games when it comes to the exclusive content they are going to lock up, the amount of money they are willing to spend to ensure that they get something. Now, I just want to end this by emphasizing one last thing here. We have Silent Hill telling you it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to get announced, and I think it'll be a full exclusive. Okay. I've been hearing Metal Gear. I don't know if that's true. I pray that it is true because I would love to see that. We've been hearing again SOCOM, but that would be a first party thing. But when you think about third party games, it could be anything. It could be anything. So it just seems to me that Sony has some massive, massive bombshells to drop at some point, and they're just waiting to figure it out. How do you feel about GTA 6 being a game as a service, unfinished game at launch? I think I don't want to say it'll be unfinished, but by unfinished, if you mean like we're going to get part one and then eventually part two, like a year later, and part three, maybe 2 years later, very much. Brace yourselves. If you're a GTA fan and you're holding out for a traditional GTA game launch, I don't think you're going to see that. I would love to be wrong, and I don't even think that necessarily sounds like a bad thing as long as they still include a single player. But Josh Z, you're saying Sony has PlayStation Productions too, working to expand their popular exclusives to TV and film. They're putting everything they have into the brand. Exactly, Josh. You make a great point here where that is something else that Sony is doing, where they're trying to expand the PlayStation brand into all of their divisions because that's how much they care about it. So, um, yeah, guys, I gotta tell you, I'm thrilled about this as a PlayStation fan, as a PlayStation owner. I'm thrilled at the idea that I am going to invest in the right console. Where if these deals are as big, see, there's one thing I have to mention here before moving on that it does give me a little bit of pause because I know I'm getting ahead of myself and I'm assuming that Imran Khan, everything he's saying is true, and it might not be. Alien, you're saying Sony will announce time splitters. Anything's possible, man. Anything's possible, but we have to understand that it would be in Sony's best interest, as far as I'm aware, and I could be wrong about this. Maybe they feel like it would be in their best interest to wait. Again, I don't work for Sony. I don't get paid nearly enough to try to really figure out these heavy decisions that could have huge implications, negative or positive, on the brand in the future. But you would assume that if Sony had some kind of major deal with a third party, and I'm talking something that's huge, like, yeah, something on the level of like the next GTA expansion or 6, whatever it's called, they're going to want to make that known before this console releases. I would just assume that's the case because it's kind of like, you want to try to make sure people know about this before your competition also releases a console. So even if they have to wait to get that console, they're going to choose yours. You know what I mean? You also don't want to risk making people upset because you announce it much later on after they already bought the other console. But that's probably their fault anyway. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna move on to the next topic because I spent way too much time on this one. But yeah, let me know your thoughts about that down in, not well, yeah, down in the comments below for anybody who's watching after, but in the chat. Because I don't know, man. Like, I'm dying to know what some of these deals are, what they could be. I would just honestly recommend, if you're somebody who is easily upset at the idea of third party exclusive content, um, you know, more power to you. You can be upset, say what you got to say to Sony, but highly consider maybe investing into a PlayStation because it really does seem like Sony is going to ensure that they hold some stuff back and give it to their users on PlayStation before anybody else gets it, potentially for a significantly long time. And these could be some very big games. So we are going to move right along here. Just to kind of finish what I was saying earlier about the second topic, I kind of deviated completely from it about the Xbox Live thing. I just want to give my final thoughts on that. I don't anticipate any major changes. Not well, major changes maybe is the wrong word. I do not anticipate that Sony or Microsoft, for that matter, in this case Microsoft, but especially not Sony, are ever going to remove the multiplayer paywall simply because they just make too much money off of it. And so it doesn't surprise me at all to hear a Microsoft spokesperson coming out and basically saying there are no changes being made. Xbox Live Gold still remains a very important, component of Xbox and Xbox Live. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that here at the end because I know I just kind of like skimmed over that topic. But we're gonna move right along here. Uh, all right. So for the next topic, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this. If anything, this is just kind of like to laugh at a little bit, honestly. Apparently, before I read this next topic, we have I'm just going to call you AG because I cannot pronounce that, unfortunately. You're saying when American gaming companies get to a certain level of success, their business model becomes do what worked in the past for less money and quality. Unfortunately, we do see that happen a lot, but that's the biggest thing with Sony, and people who are a little bit fearful that they're going to kind of end up resting on their laurels or whatever. I don't think they will. I think that they are aware that the quality level of their games is really what propels them to those heights that allow people to, uh, you know, not allow people, but it allows the game to kind of just expand out there, right? Have this major ripple effect. I think if it wasn't for that quality and the notoriety, like it's like a standard at this point. You know what I mean? And I'm sure internally Sony has a standard for their studios and their games where they know that not every studio every single time can hit that bar, but you got to try to get as close to it as you can. You know what I mean? And I think that that's just kind of a prestige in a way that Sony now has that they yeah. So anyway, we're going to move on to the next topic, and this one's just kind of funny because apparently Phil Spencer actually commented on Craig the Brute. Yes, Craig, that famous image, the famous meme that was born of the Xbox July 23rd event that will, I'm assuming, never go away, which I think is great because I think it's awesome. But says here, Phil Spencer confirms that Craig the Brute is the new official Xbox mascot. We know this because a fan on Twitter asked Phil Spencer what his take on Craig was, and Phil responded with, "Our new official Xbox mascot. I love the community and their ability to just take something fun and run with it." Now, obviously, look, there's not much that can be said here other than that I appreciate seeing Phil, you know, just take it like a champ here and just, he's coming. I'm sure. Look, I'm gonna be honest. I'm sure deep down inside, Phil is metaphorically punching air at this reveal and Craig the Brute meme, and I'm sure it's the absolute last thing he wanted to see, especially when you think about all the memes that were spawned from the Xbox 2013 reveal event. And he's the new guy in charge, and he just wants to make sure that that doesn't happen again. And in a way, even though it's not nearly as bad as the 2013 of, well, I don't know. In some cases it is, but it's just meme city all over again. I'm sure inside he's like very, very upset, but it's nice to see that he's willing to come out here and just be like, yeah, it's the new official. I mean, what else is he going to say? What else is he going to say? Revelation, you're saying Sony will announce the first crossover for the PS5. Bugs Knack. Yeah, that would be an interesting one. Bugs Knack. Knack is a secret playable character in Bug Snacks. But yeah, I just think it's funny because I think that, when it comes to the Xbox One reveal, there was a lot of memes that were born, like TV, and DRM and all this stuff. And I remember when Major Nelson or Larry Herb, when he did the unboxing of the Xbox One, the amount of memes that spawned from that, a lot of them being pretty dark, but very funny, was just great. And I feel like this is just that all over again. And it's sad because it's sad because you see some people are like, man, everybody's always against Xbox. They're never going to, just be nice to Xbox, and Xbox gets all this hate and people make fun of it undeserving. But I'm just going to be real right now. Like, you can't blame people for memeing on something like that. And PlayStation gets memed on all the time too. But in this case, it's like Craig the Brute has like transcended, like there's very few memes that really get to like rise to the top. And, in the words of Macho Man Randy Savage, cream of the crop is going to rise to the top. I think in this case, Craig the Brute as a meme fits that criteria perfectly. And, I cannot blame Phil for basically allowing Xbox to be clowned and just embracing it, because this is one of those memes where, Phil, you made the right move here, man. You can't fight it. Just embrace it. And he did just that. I don't know if he maybe spoke to a PR person before saying that or responding, but it's good to know that, they're taking it in stride. So, Alien T, once again, you're saying breaking. Craig takes CEO job at Microsoft. Yeah. Oh man, it's that like it's just a matter of time till some people start making like masks of Craig the Brute, and you're gonna see people on Halloween, dressed up as Craig the Brute. I mean that's the level it's gotten to at this point. So yeah, I had to take a moment to talk about that. I was thinking about earlier this week whether I should make a video on that, but there's just not much to say about it. Maybe just get a good chuckle from it. But yeah, we're gonna move on to the next topic here. If you could do me a big favor, hit that like button, guys. We are almost at 700 likes. Let's see if we can get to 800 likes, and if it's possible, let's see if we can get to 1,000 likes by the time this podcast ends, or as close to it as we can. Thank you guys so much for your continued support here. But moving on to the next topic, I just want to take a little bit of time to talk a little bit more about this recent state of play that went down. Sony had their 40-minute long state of play, and it was quite divisive for what seems to be, in my opinion, some pretty dumb reasons, honestly. What it seems to boil down to is a lot of entitled gamers having a tantrum over the fact that many of the games shown off and talked about were smaller indie titles. I admit that the show did seem a tad bit unnecessary, but not because of what was shown, but mainly due to the timing. I do believe a lot of the excess hate the state of play received is because we are now in August with the PlayStation 5 price, release date, and pre order info and Teardown and anything else revolving around the PlayStation 5 still not being talked about. But the reason why I can't help but feel that people are being ridiculous here is because Sony literally told you. They literally told you what to expect from this event and what they're going to be talking about. Now, I was personally kind of surprised to see 9 minutes of Godfall gameplay being shown and that being the focus, considering it is a PlayStation 5 console exclusive that's not coming to PS4. And I thought it was nice. But yeah, as usual, people seem to be forgetting that Sony does still need to support the PlayStation 4 console, but more importantly, they need to continue to show their support to indie developers. And look, I watched this event and I streamed it live, and I can admit, like, it was not that exciting to me. There was the thing that really kind of excited me the most was seeing that Godfall gameplay because I just didn't expect to see it there. And it made me realize this is actually the perfect place to show it. And I thought it looked pretty good. It wasn't the best thing in the world, but I don't know, man. I'm kind of excited for Godfall. It looks like a solid co-op title, but I'm just, I'm so surprised that there was as negative of a reaction to the state of play as there was because, again, if they showed what they showed and they didn't give anybody a warning, they just said it's a state of play and they didn't even remotely allude to what's going to be in it, I would agree with people. I'd be like, wow, that was really bad. What were they thinking? But they literally came out and said, hey guys, PlayStation 4 centric and themed state of play. There's going to be a heavy emphasis on third party games and indie games. Don't expect any major PS5 news or game reveals here or anything from our first party. And I look at this event and I'm like, that's exactly what they said it was. So I was a little bit like, I think the worst thing I said about it was it did seem unnecessary. Only because like it just seemed to me what they were trying to do in their best way they possibly could was show PlayStation 4 owners that, hey, we still care. We're still going to put a focus on you. But at this point, Sony doesn't, and even third party developers, but mainly Sony, they don't really have anything major left to show for the PS4. And that's why the last section of this state of play was focused on a PlayStation 5 timed exclusive and not a PS4 game. You know what I mean? So it did seem a little bit unnecessary, but at the same time, I'm sorry. I just can't get behind this idea that, oh, we need to downvote that state of play and complain at Sony because it was just terrible. And it's sad because people are gonna look at they're gonna listen to what I'm saying. They're gonna be like, dude, you're just damage controlling. They could have shown anything you said is great. No, I'm admitting to you that I did not really feel excited at all for what I saw except for Godfall. And I can easily admit to you that if Sony didn't give us fair warning as to what was going to be shown at the state of play, I would have been beyond frustrated. Okay. Honestly, I would have been like, you got to be kidding me. But they didn't do that. Okay. So, I feel like if anything, people need to give Sony credit that they're willing to come out and set the expectations where they need to be. I think Sony's been excellent about that. And I think in this case, they really proved it because this isn't what Microsoft does. You know what I mean? Like Microsoft doesn't set expectations like that. The closest thing I've seen to that was Aaron Greenberg right before the July 23rd event, the day before, he told people that, oh, you're going to see a lot of Xbox One games as well, or at least some. That's why we're not calling it an Xbox Series X event. I was like, oh, geez, that should have been in your marketing material. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you should let people know beforehand. And Sony's just taking the smarter approach. And it just goes to show you how ridiculous people are going to be where you could have a company literally tell you exactly what to expect, and then you watch it and they show exactly what they told you they would, and people still freak out. Like, if you're somebody who's like, wow, that really wasn't good, that's fine. I could even to a certain extent agree that it wasn't, to me, none of those games, at least not a lot of them, really appealed to me, and I didn't really feel like it was worth watching, spending 40 minutes watching that entire thing. But I can't sit here and be like, "Oh my god, like how dare Sony focus on the PS4? How dare they focus on indie games even though they told me this is what they were going to be focusing on? How dare they?" People need to get their heads out of their asses, being completely honest right now, and realize that it's not always going to be a massive, big, bombastic AAA game, next gen, cutting edge filled event. It's just not going to be, okay? Like, if you were Sony, if you were in charge of the PlayStation brand and you knew there were still 112 million people out there with the PS4, you're really not going to have anything significant regarding the PS4. You're not going to give them their own little event for the people who won't or can't or just aren't ready to upgrade. Come on. I mean, people just get out of hand here. Straight from VA1, you're saying, I see that state of play as decoy. Xbox and Sony has been going back and forth with events, and now Sony has everyone waiting for the next Xbox event to reveal price. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's clearly, you look at how big that event was, or how long it was, I should say, and you can tell they clearly had that in the works for a little while. But I think it's the perfect way to kind of throw everyone off, get everyone, kind of catch everyone off guard, right? Like, to me, it's not that shocking, but to some people, it's like, wait, I thought we were, on to the next gen, and I thought we were talking about PS5, and what about more PS5 games? And so now people are left wondering, myself included, like, okay, so when are you going to talk more about the PS5? You would think that they would have done it by now, but they're waiting, and that's the thing. Like, they are waiting. They are trying to play with Microsoft here in a game that they don't want to lose. And so you can't say Sony didn't do anything. You can't say they stayed completely silent, because they didn't. But you also realize that they didn't really reveal too much more about the PS5. But as I said, guys, like, I was legitimately surprised to see Godfall there. Like, it was weird to me in a way that Sony would, if anything, I don't want to say that they surpassed expectations. It's not that, but they definitely subverted expectations, where I would have thought that maybe if we were going to see gameplay of something, it would have been a game coming to PS4, considering they said this is a PS4 focused state of play. But even then, they still tried to give PlayStation 5 buyers something, right? And I'm like, okay, yeah, like, Godfall looks good. Obviously, we would love to see Spider-Man Miles Morales, but you save that for its own thing, right? Like, look, I don't think it would have been smart of Sony to say, let's give Godfall its own 20-minute state of play. No, you don't do that, but let's give it 9 minutes in this extended PS4 state of play. That makes a lot of sense to me. It wasn't anticipated, but it makes sense. You save the gameplay dedicated state of play for a game like Spider-Man. Also, can we talk about how much gameplay was actually shown and how some of these games were shown running on PS5? Again, like, another really important thing that they did do, that even though you may not be into those games, you can't take away the fact that they're showing raw gameplay, and some of it is even being shown on PS5. Chris B, you're saying this is where Xbox does a bit better. That PS4 show is basically an Xbox pre-show event. Sony should have just used it as such. I could see that. Yeah, I mean, I will admit that, like, it does call into question what our expectations for state of play in general should be. And in my opinion, I think it's pretty clear. I'm going to tell you right now, based off of everything that Sony has showed me with every single state of play to date, I think I have a good understanding and idea of what state of play is for Sony. True Witty, you're saying MBG, Sony, and Xbox are in a chess game together. Yes, they are. We will see who ends up winning. I think we maybe kind of know who's going to get the checkmate here. Why do you sound so depressed, dude? I don't think I sound depressed. Do I sound depressed? I mean, my voice is a little bit monotone usually, but I mean, it's not like I'm sitting here talking like this. I mean, I don't see how I could do a 2 hour long podcast talking like this. I don't think that's what I sound like, but maybe I do. I apologize. I guess I'm not depressed, but anyway, I think what Sony sees State of Play as, realistically speaking, guys, you're never going to see the big game reveals at State of Play. Like, I think at this point, it's safe to say that they've had multiple State of Plays before they did gameplay dedicated State of Plays, where it was just smaller games, some VR games, and at the end, they maybe show a new trailer for one of their more highly anticipated games, whether that's Final Fantasy, Ghost of Tsushima, or The Last of Us, right? That's what they do. They have yet to reveal a major AAA game during a State of Play, as far as I'm aware. And so the other thing is, well, there's that, but there's also the gameplay. You talk about having a 20-minute dedicated State of Play to showing in an in-depth look with developer commentary of, Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2. That's, in my opinion, that right there is the significance of State of Play. You want to see in-depth looks for games, upcoming games like Spider-Man Miles Morales, Demon Souls, Horizon Forbidden West, even a game like not Forza, Gran Turismo. I don't know why I always get those two confused. I think that that's the major importance of State of Play. That and indies and smaller titles that you wouldn't really expect to have a whole massive event. This future of gaming event that Sony did in June for the PS5, that should be all the proof you need to know that when Sony has the big stuff ready to show, they're willing to do an event. They said it themselves. They weren't willing to do some cheap at home on camera, webcam stuff. They want an actual proper event. And so I think at this point, guys, and I would just give this recommendation to anybody who maybe is questioning how excited should they be for future State of Plays. I'm going to be honest, don't expect anything big from now on. What is worth noting here is we have yet to see a State of Play that's just about PlayStation 5. Okay, now that could be when Sony decides we're going to change the format a little bit. But I wouldn't anticipate that. I think it's much more likely that Sony is dedicating State of Play events to uh, smaller announcements, smaller games, and maybe occasionally you can expect like a bigger trailer at the end for an upcoming game we're all looking forward to. That and major gameplay in depth looks for their upcoming games. So if you go in with those expectations, I don't think you'll ever be disappointed again. I think if you're expecting big announcements, it would be safer to expect that Sony will announce a proper formal event at that point. So, yeah. Um we are going to move on to, let me see here. Yeah, we're going to move on to the last topic, which is just me talking a little bit about SOCOM, because I know a lot of people have been wanting me to do that. So, once again, make sure you hit that like button if you haven't, guys. But moving right along here, there was recently a 4chan post that talked about some PS5 stuff that is coming up soon. And it seems possible that the poster may actually be legitimate, but we still don't know for sure. However, one of the bigger things the poster revealed that got a lot of people very excited was they claimed Sony has a SOCOM reboot or a new SOCOM game that they are preparing to reveal and will actually release it at around the launch of the PlayStation 5. I've been getting a lot of questions about this, and many are wondering if I have any more info on this. But sadly, I don't have any more relevant information I can give you. I'll be sure to update you. Obviously, if I hear anything. But one thing I will tell you is that if this is real, and if the release date or the release window is around the PlayStation 5 launch, we will hear about this soon. This could very well be one of the bigger titles that Sony held back on. And guys, I need to tell you, I see somebody asking free to play. I have no idea. I mean, we don't know. I want people to understand something. When we watched the Future of Gaming event on June 11th with the PS5, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Sony really didn't have any multiplayer games shown except for maybe Gran Turismo, as far as I'm aware, because I'm pretty sure Gran Turismo will be online. Maybe it won't be, though. I'm sure it will be. I think they even made it look like you were playing online against people. But I gotta tell you, like, to me, that was kind of odd because we did hear in the past that Sony wants to have more of a presence in the multiplayer space. They want to obviously get a piece of the pie that is the live service games, but they're not going to do that at the expense of, placing their single player games on the back burner. So, what I think, and hear me out on this one, guys, and SOCOM, I think, maybe is kind of, integrated. Yeah, you're saying Sackboy Adventure is also multiplayer. Okay, there was that too. But I mean, is that really the type of multiplayer game that we were? If Sony and Destruction All Stars, okay, you guys got me. There are some, but it seems like any multiplayer games they showed were these smaller experiences. Nothing that's like really considered a triple A multiplayer title, right? So that's what I guess I'm trying to get at here. So what I think is Sony does have more AAA multiplayer titles in the works than we might think, but maybe they thought it's not really ideal, and this is just me completely guessing. Maybe they thought it wouldn't be ideal for them to reveal these types of games at the first reveal event, because what people want to see is that they're still dedicated to single player experiences and seeing the return of other franchises like Ratchet and Clank, Gran Turismo, seeing Horizon and stuff. Horizon may even have multiplayer. We don't know. But they certainly didn't talk about it if they did. And so we have been hearing about SOCOM, Killzone, stuff like that for a while. And I gotta tell you guys, the most interesting thing I heard recently that I haven't talked about is I watched one of Mystic's more recent videos, and he briefly mentioned, and he didn't elaborate on it or explain it, and I don't know where he heard it from. Maybe it was just he read it in a forum or something. But he said that he thinks if the SOCOM game is real, that the secret San Diego AAA studio may even be working on it, which I didn't even think of that or consider that. We heard, and the reason why I don't believe that is because they put out a job listing saying that they're looking to hire for the next evolution in cinematic storytelling, and it's going to be an action adventure game. To me, that doesn't like, I feel like if it was an FPS, they would say that. Now, to me, and guys, I gotta tell you, like, you're saying Insomniac tweeted about Resistance. Yeah, I'm not on Twitter right now, so I wouldn't see that. But I gotta tell you, the thing that seems most likely to me, if I had to give my best guess, okay, and I've been saying this, but I just want to emphasize this again because I do believe it. I believe this is a real thing. We just haven't heard anything about it. Like, there isn't any solid evidence. I just believe it. I feel it in my gut. We know for a fact, there are two things we know for a fact here. Three things. You ready? The first fact number one, Guerrilla Games has a second AAA sized team working on a second game. We just have no idea what this game is. The first team is working on Horizon Forbidden West, obviously. So we have no idea what the second team is. Fact number two, Guerrilla Games has a lot of experience, and they're known for their first person shooter series being Killzone. So with that knowledge in mind, it's a pretty safe assumption that there's a very good chance that if any team were to be working on some type of SOCOM reboot, it would be a team that has a lot of experience in first person shooters. Fact number three, we know that in 2018, this second Guerrilla Games team hired two of the lead developers who created Rainbow Six Siege and worked on Rainbow Six Siege, a modern military tactical shooter, first person shooter. Now, I'm not saying, I understand that maybe it's like, well, does this mean SOCOM could be first person? I don't think that's likely. I think it will still be third person, but I'm just saying, like, they have the most experience, maybe next to Insomniac Games potentially under Sony, with a third person shooter game. And there may be a studio I'm completely forgetting about that also has that experience, but I'm just saying it seems like that could really be a possibility. Those are the three facts we know. Okay, so it's, I think, okay to assume that they're working on, like, if there is a SOCOM reboot, they're the ones working on it, right? Yakarumi, you're saying Xbox is like that one kid you don't want to have on your team, but you have to pick him anyway because he doesn't want to, you can't exclude him. Yeah, I guess maybe that's how some people see Xbox. I Iokism, Eokism 1025. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. You're saying, what if Rainbow Six Vegas 3 was a PlayStation Time exclusive? That is a game no one would ever think that would be coming out as an exclusive. Dude, don't even, don't give me hope like that, man. I wasn't even thinking of that. Thanks a lot for putting that in my brain. Dude, Vegas 1 and 2 are some of the best tactical shooters ever made. I will scream if we see Vegas 3. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, Ubisoft, their bread and butter seems to be the latest incarnation of Rainbow Six. But I want to tell you guys really quick, I had a dream last night, and I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I've seen so many people asking me about SOCOM. Okay? I don't know why, but I had this dream. It felt more like a nightmare for some reason that I discovered, and it was announced that somehow Sony sold the SOCOM IP to Microsoft, and Microsoft was making an Xbox exclusive SOCOM reboot. And I was just like, no. I was like, how could this happen? Of all the things I was expecting, this was the last thing I could have ever foreseen. And I remember, and I, in the nightmare, I somehow, like, Phil Spencer paid me a visit and laughed in my face. It made me feel like crap. And I was like, what is happening? Most ridiculous dream I think I've ever had. But my God, it was like, and it was weird too, because in the dream, I felt like I got to see a glimpse of the game, and it looked so good, man. Like, it looked so good. And I was like, no, no. So dumb, man. So dumb. But I thought I would just tell you guys about that because it is related to SOCOM in some way. And I have to say, I think that's like the first time I've ever had like a dream about something along those lines. And so I gotta tell you guys, I would really like to see a SOCOM reboot. Now, I don't know how many people you're in too deep, MBG. Yeah, I know, right? I don't know how many people on my channel. Now, I have over 70,000 subscribers now, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much for that, by the way. Huge milestone. Let's get up to 100K. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. But I don't know how many people did Phil Spencer teabag you. Oh, no, he didn't, dude. Come on. What? Come on, man. Even in my dreams, Phil Spencer's still a pretty classy guy. Like, when the way he made fun of me, he didn't make fun of me, but the way he told me, he's just like, yeah, MBG, if you want to play SOCOM, you're gonna have to do so on Xbox, buddy. And I'm just like, no. And he's like smiling when he says it, this evil smile. But anyway, guys, just to get back, I don't know how many people out of the 70,000 people on my that are subscribed to my channel are interested in SOCOM. What I will tell you is I don't have much experience with the original SOCOM games. I did play them occasionally. I remember like the first game was one of the first games I ever tried to get involved with in online. I saw some people saying they tried to draw a correlation between the fact that the DualSense controller has a built-in microphone to, them hinting that there's going to be like a multiplayer shooter because the original SOCOM was like the first ever. I don't know if it was a PlayStation. I think, yeah, it was a PlayStation exclusive. I think SOCOM is an IP that's owned by Sony. So I think every SOCOM game was exclusive, if I'm not mistaken. But it was like the first game that came with a mic, I believe, that you could get like when you bought the game. And I remember that was really cool to me. I heard SOCOM 4 was really bad. And it kind of like, it's why at this point that it would be considered a reboot. iSiler18, you're saying, hope Naughty Dog does a Joel standalone during his dark days, and dare I say an Abby standalone as well, explaining more of the cult. Yeah, I don't know, man. I have no idea what the future of The Last of Us looks like. All I'm going to say is that as of right now, I'm really hoping that we get a multiplayer, that standalone multiplayer. I would love that. I feel like that would be a great experience because the mechanics of The Last of Us are awesome. Regardless of what I think about the story, I think the gameplay is awesome, and I would just love to see that in a modern day multiplayer environment once again. I think that'd be great. But yeah, guys, I gotta tell you, I really, 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 really hope, and I don't know why. I think maybe it's just because I've seen this rumor from 4chan, and I know it's 4chan, but the guy seems to have maybe proved himself to be legit. And we've been hearing SOCOM for a while. I guess maybe it's because I've seen a lot of people on my channel like asking me to talk about it more and cover it. I would love to like if this game is a reboot and it does come out and it's real, I would love to make that like one of the staples on my channel. But I don't know if I could achieve that because again, I don't know how many people here are interested. I mean, right now we have 900 people watching. So even if all 900 of you said you love SOCOM or you'd be excited for SOCOM, I don't know what that means for the wider channel audience here at 70,000 subscribers. What I will say is I would and this goes for The Last of Us multiplayer as well. Basically, I would love to be the guy on YouTube. You see how there's like YouTubers who cover specific games, and I'm not saying that I would just cover a specific game, but you guys see we kind of have like a cycle on the channel here where I try to cover a lot of the bigger PlayStation exclusive games, and I will continue to do that. But the problem with a lot of these games is you can only cover them for so long. You know what I mean? Until it's like because they're single player games that it's kind of like I don't want to say it's not relevant anymore, but now we're on to the next one. I would love if Sony were to announce a big multiplayer, dare I say, live service game. I know those words make a lot of PlayStation fans cringe and shiver, but a live service game done right is what I should say. And it's the Last of Us online multiplayer or it's SOCOM. I would love to make that like a staple of the channel where like I want to be one of the go-to sources that covers that game for the long run because it's going to be a game that remains alive. I would love to see that. You know what I mean? And I think a game like SOCOM is right up my alley because I do love my tactical shooters. One of the games I still play very frequently is PUBG. And God knows I'm getting so fed up with that game because it's just, I'm ready to move on to something new. And SOCOM feels like it could be. And I would hope it has a single player as well, but I would love for that to see that happen. I'd love to make that happen in a game like The Last of Us. I would just love to have one of these big multiplayer titles that I could come back to and consistently talk about on the channel. And I think Sony needs that. Like, I really think Sony needs that. Like, I think Sony already has the single player content locked, and we know that that's not going anywhere. I want it to be known that's why Sony is Sony is growing their single player studios so much that they're actually divvying them up into separate teams where they're each working on a different AAA game. So yeah, isn't it crazy to think that Guerrilla Games has one AAA team that's working on possibly the biggest AAA single player game, that being Horizon Forbidden West, but they also have another AAA team that's working on a massive AAA tactical third person or maybe even first person shooter. Here's a question I have for you guys just to before we move on to the general news and then the chat Q&A. I want to ask those of you who are SOCOM fans and you're hoping that we do see a SOCOM reboot. Serious question. How would you feel if it was first person? How would you feel about that? I personally would love to see it be third person, but I just get this feeling that if Guerrilla Games is working on it because of their expertise with first person games and because they hired people who also worked on a first person shooter, that being Rainbow Six, how would you feel about that? I would be fine with it, but I would prefer third person, or maybe it could be one of these games where you can play in third or first person, but that could, I don't know. I feel like that would really hurt the game from a tactical competitive side. You guys are saying third person's better. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is SOCOM. You're saying you never played SOCOM. Both SOCOMs. Somebody's asking about a PS6. I don't have an answer for that, fortunately. It wouldn't be SOCOM anymore, in your opinion. No, SOCOM is a tactical third-person shooter, third person only. Has to be third person. David, you're saying third person. David Gaines. Yeah, I don't know, man. I prefer third person over first, but and to be honest, I feel like Sony would have a much better chance at capturing like an audience because a big question you have to ask with these games is like would Sony pursue a game like this knowing the competition that's out there? Does it make more sense for Sony to make a first person type shooter whether it's competitive or not? It could just be casual like thinking I don't know if I don't have much experience with Killzone, so I don't know if that's a really considered a really competitive game or more of a casual game. But would it make more sense? Would they be able to stand out more with a first person shooter or a third person tactical shooter? I think today you don't really see that many third person tactical shooters, so I think that that would stand out more in 2020 against the competition. Then the big question becomes, would it be a free to play game? Same thing with this Last of Us multiplayer. Would it be free to play? Would it be a $60 title? Would the single player cost money and then the multiplayer would be free to play, kind of like what we're seeing with Halo Infinite? I don't know. I don't know. But here, okay, one last question I have for you guys, just with the SOCOM thing. I've been saying, David, you're saying third person for them would dominate. Not many third person shooters are that good, if at all, if any at all, to be honest. I agree. I think it could be the next. I don't, and when I say PUBG, I don't mean Battle Royale, although who knows. But when I say the next PUBG, I mean, like, if you remember when PUBG first came out, people were like, oh man, like this is the new hotness, but it just failed to kind of like maintain it. I think SOCOM in 2020 could be that, right? And I think that that's one of the things that was interesting about PUBG is it was a third person tactical shooter. It was just in a battle royale environment. Now, if you take that and put it in like a 6v6 type environment or 12v12 or something potentially, yeah, it gets me excited because I would just love to see that because I feel like it's been so long since we've seen something like that from Sony, you know, that it really would resonate with a lot of people and it would catch them off guard too and surprise in a good way. So, I feel like there was one last question I wanted to ask you guys before I moved on, but I forgot what it was. So, with that being said, what I'm going to do, because I just feel like this makes it easier, I'm going to refer to my phone because I have 30 tabs open, and I'm not reading all 30 tabs, but I just want to go over a couple of maybe interesting gaming, gaming general gaming news I may have not put as dedicated topics. David, you're also saying, and it's made by Gorilla, it would be a strong game for PlayStation. Maybe third person, but can be first person with specific attachment scopes. Yeah, like, dude, I hope it's real, man. I'm not gonna lie. At this point, I've been hearing so much about SOCOM over the past year or two that if it's not real, I'm gonna be pretty disappointed. I mean, if it's a new Killzone, that'd be great too. I just, you know what I don't want, and I'm gonna be real right now with you guys. You know what I don't want before I move on? I heard a rumor that apparently this second team at Guerrilla Games is working on a multiplayer component for Horizon. I think that it's possible, and I think that I don't want to say it's likely. I think it's possible. I'm not going to lie. That would be kind of disappointing to me. I mean, I'd still be excited for it, but that would be more disappointing to me because it would just be so great to see something different. You know what I mean? Like I'm insanely hyped for Horizon Forbidden West, but I don't want to see the second Guerrilla Games team reveal something that's also related to Horizon. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like that'd be like like I would have just loved to see something completely surprising. I mean, Killzone would be less surprising than SOCOM, but still I think a welcome surprise. But yeah, iSiler18, you're saying it would be badass if The Last of Us had a horde mode style where you can pick Abby, Joel, and Ellie to fight together. A lot of possibilities. Yeah, that would be cool too. I've always said like I know how people get with the term battle royale, but could you imagine a Last of Us battle royale game where it's not necessarily 100 players, but it's a big map, but there's also infected scattered around? That would be amazing. I think that that would be a really cool experience on top of having the normal factions mode. Just my thought though on that. I think that that could be like the next big battle royale potentially, right? I mean, there's some untapped stuff here that's if Sony may or may not be pursuing, but Horizon Zero Dawn multiplayer would be cool in my opinion, but I don't see the point of the other part of Guerrilla working on the same title. Technically, we really need a strategic shooter. Yeah, okay. You reminded me, man. The last thing I wanted to ask you is this before I move on. If we did see a SOCOM reboot and it was third person, obviously, and it remains that traditional SOCOM experience, but a modern day rendition. Um, do you think that that would be able to compete with Halo Infinite in any way? I think it could, even though it is kind of different. But I think that still because it would be that multiplayer shooter, even though it's a more tactical experience. I think that would do a good job in competing. So that's a question I have, excuse me, for you guys. But before this podcast ends up being way too long, let's move right along. Warner Bros. Parent company suggests the games business is staying put. So it seems like WB Games may not end up being sold. Let's see here. An extensive update on the plans to restructure the Warner Brothers group. It looks like the games division is staying put. Yeah, I see you guys saying you think that would blast Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite is no match for SOCOM. Yeah, it would be interesting, man. It would be interesting. I think it would beat Halo Infinite easily. PlayStation has a way bigger player base, and the Gorilla engine is unmatched. Wouldn't even be close. Yeah, you might be right. Damn, I gotta stop talking about it because I'm getting myself all excited at the idea of a new SOCOM. I mean, I'm not like a traditional SOCOM player, so it feels a little bit fraudulent. I don't want to make it sound like, oh, finally I'm returning to SOCOM. I did play it a little bit in the past. I just never got into it, but I've changed. I was very young. I was much younger, and I just wasn't into that type of gaming experience. Today, though, however, I think my approach to a SOCOM game in 2020 would be vastly different. It sounds like it's right up my alley at this point. Anyway, but yeah, it says there was an update with plans to restructure the Warner Group. It looks like the game division is staying put. Warner Bros. Media CEO Jason Kyler said that following proposed changes to the company, Warner Bros. Interactive remains part of the studios and networks group. So it seems like any chance there was of the WB gaming division being sold to Microsoft or EA or Take-Two or Activision, that's no longer a thing. If this is to be believed, I mean, it's coming right from them, so it is to be believed. So there you go. I don't think we'll be hearing anything more about that unless they change their mind. Okay, here's something kind of interesting I wanted to mention to you guys. I didn't want to put it in a separate video, but Sony Japan is teasing something related to Siren on Twitter. Now, people have made me aware that they actually put this post out every year to celebrate the anniversary of the Siren games. And they put out a tweet that reads, and it was pictures from Siren. And it says, "We will inform you of the entry into another world." So I don't know much about Siren. I don't know if that's like a quote from the game or if being transported to another world is a theme of that game. Maybe you guys can tell me, but I just thought that it was interesting. It's interesting to see Konami's official Twitter account randomly talking about the classic Silent Hill games, referring to as Silent Hill. MGO is the original battle royale. Yeah, dude, don't get me going on the original MGO. God damn, what a travesty, right? Like, just a quick rant for anybody listening who played the original Metal Gear Online or Metal Gear Online 2, games that were absolutely ahead of their time, but just completely mismanaged by Konami. And it could have been great. It was greatness, but it could have remained greatness for a long time if they just fixed the issues and they stopped the people. But Konami's biggest mistake with MGO2 was not integrating it to the PlayStation Network for some ungodly reason, and it led to the terrible, slow death of that game due to hackers and people just destroying it. Konami couldn't manage it. What a damn shame. Calvin Smith, you're saying a new PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Yeah, that would be interesting. That'd be interesting. Talk about the Suicide Squad game. Well, real quick, just to finish up what I was saying here about I see people, Resident Evil Outbreak 1 and 2. Guys, stop. You're getting my nostalgia. I don't want to think about it. It's too good. We need an Outbreak 3. I mean, goddamn, Capcom will literally remake every other Resident Evil series, but they won't think to do anything with the Outbreak series. Come on. But when it comes to this Siren, game being talked about on Sony Japan's Twitter, I just find the timing of it interesting because it's like we're seeing Konami come out and be like, "Hey, classic Silent Hill games. Oh, sorry, we didn't mean to get everybody worked up. Just we're going to refer you to this random Silent Hill account that was just created last month if there's any official announcement and if it comes from an event." And I'm just like, what? Like, event, announcement, Silent Hill? And now we're seeing the the Siren or Sony's Japanese Twitter, Sony Japan's Twitter account. I apologize. Either that or their Siren account. I think it's the Sony Japan Twitter talking about this. So I don't know, guys. I don't know. I don't want to be that guy that's like, let's connect the dots, but I feel like we've kind of already connected the dots. So yeah, we're gonna move right along here. Let me see here. So there was this other report. I'm not going to talk about it here because I am going to make a Siren Hill. Yeah, I'm going to make a separate video on this, but we have another analyst coming out here saying that they expect the PS5 sales to significantly outperform that of the Xbox Series X, saying they'll essentially be double, maybe more. I have to agree with that. By the way, for those of you who are here with the stream, how is the stream coming through? What is the quality of my stream visually when it comes to frames and choppiness or anything? Because I forgot to mention that I lowered the bit rate significantly, and I just wanted to know if there's any improvement or if it's worse or if you notice any difference. Everybody's saying it's good. It's like gravy. I'm assuming that means good. Looks great, crystal clear. Okay. Yeah, because I'm thinking the next time I stream an event, it will probably end up being whatever Xbox's next thing is if they have it. I really don't want to run into any issues again. If I continue to run into those issues, I may have to do my live reactions afterwards to ensure a smooth experience, but I think it might be the bit rate. Santos Vasquez, you're saying, hey, MBG, with the high quality of PS5 games we're going to have, do you think we might have a storage problem at the start of the generation? I don't know. I want to say that this is an issue that every Sony developer, specifically every developer who's planning to bring their game to next gen, but specifically Sony's with how high quality they are going to be. You know, the storage size is probably going to be very high, but I have to imagine that they're finding solutions to this. So, yeah, I want to say no, but it could be a possibility. Sony was saying that they're working with specific partners with that, so I'm sure they're going to talk more about that. So stay tuned. But thank you for that donation. Thank you for the donations, by the way, from everybody who super chatted today. Let's see here. So we talked about Corey Barlog's comments. So real quick, The Last of Us 2 factions mode. There's been a lot of reports of leaked leaked got my head there. Leaked gameplay footage, and yes, it is real, and it is very clearly The Last of Us Part 2 factions mode. However, I want to let everybody know who's listening, it's not new. That footage has been out, and it did leak prior. It leaked months ago, so it's not necessarily new, but it is legitimate. So, hopefully we hear something soon about that. Moving right along here. Microsoft isn't renaming Xbox Live. We already got that. Okay, yeah, something I didn't cover. PlayStation 5 shipments from back-end service providers have reportedly begun. Now, the significance of this is if there's anybody who somehow still believe that these consoles were going to get delayed, they're not. At least not the PS5. Not with that report coming in. So, yeah. There's also an update to the peripherals for the PlayStation 5, specifically the PlayStation 5 peripherals, and apparently their camera that you can use to stream, which I may use in the future if I ever decide to go on camera. Apparently it has built-in background removal tools for streamers, so that could be great for me in the long-term future. And I think that was something that the PS4 offered as well, but it's nice to see they're still going to offer that. Do I think Factions will be a launch window title? I would love for it to be, but I don't think it is. Darkland22, how do you feel about bots snagging pre-orders? I think that that's terrible. I don't think that should be a thing at all. I hope that doesn't happen. I don't want to see it. Really quick here. Apparently, okay, I don't know why this isn't loading. Apparently, EA has referenced Titanfall at some point. Okay, they're asking me to verify myself here, and I'm not doing that just to read this article, but they're saying Titanfall may come back at some point in the future. That's what they had to say about that. Plasmic H, you're saying any ideas for cool things to be done with the SSD? It's difficult for me to say. I'm not a developer, but it sounds like we could see games where you can achieve speeds in an open world, like say flying, or like a superhero game, or even if you're in a jet or something, think maybe GTA, you can go at incredible speeds that just weren't possible before, and you wouldn't have to worry about the world breaking essentially or major pop in. Like it will just kind of be seamless. That's one way. Or like if you think like in the future, maybe a DC Flash game, something like that. You also think about transitioning to different worlds where like if they wanted to create a game like a horror game to mess with you where you're like teleporting to like different worlds like instantaneously, like you're in one creepy back alley in a street and you're walking down and you hear something behind you and you turn around and suddenly you're just instantaneously teleported to like a different area completely, like suddenly you're in a hotel. I mean, to be honest, there's some really awesome stuff besides loading screens and the removal of these artificial loading screens that hide themselves as tight caves to go through or the elevator or whatever. There's a lot more stuff that developers will be able to do from a gameplay design level if they want to take full advantage of the PS5. Again, this is another reason why Sony may have tried to entice many third party developers to make exclusive games, even if they are timed, because who knows, like, if they're just making a game for the PS5, they may feel enticed to use that SSD in crazy ways. I'm telling you guys, like Mark Cerny and even somebody like Tim Sweeney, like they understand the long-term implications of the SSD inside of the PS5 and what it could potentially do for game design in the long run. You're not talking about more pixels being pushed. You're not talking about higher frame rates. Those things are great, but they're thinking beyond that. They're thinking like, what can we really do, really achieve with games that like you talk about, like and to me, like that's why I support Sony and why I'm such a believer in like Mark Cerny, because and the developers he talks to, right? It's not just about how do we get the most power, how do we get the most pixels, how do we get the most frames. Like no, it's literally how do we revolutionize game design? Like how do we potentially fundamentally change? And I have to rant about this for just a moment because I've seen it. I know this is a really late MBG rant. It'll just be for a moment, I promise. This is why it annoys the absolute hell out of me. Thank you for that, William Knight. It annoys the absolute hell out of me when I hear a certain group of gamers say, I don't know why everybody makes such a big deal out of the PS5's SSD. It's just going to result in better loading screens. But here's what they say. You ready? Here's the kicker. The only developers who are going to be able to take full advantage of that SSD to change fundamental gameplay design, the only developers are going to be Sony's first party. Okay, that disturbs me because that is that is like you are downplaying that to the nth degree when you say that because you're talking about the world's most talented gaming studios, some of the world. I mean, I know that there's more out there like CD Projekt Red and Rockstar, but let's face it, a lot of Sony studios are, the cream of the crop here. You're gonna tell me that's not a big deal? That's not a big deal because, oh, most third parties won't. Dude, I'm telling you, more people are going to care a hell of a lot more. All right, thank you, Freeze Vamp. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate you hanging out there in the stream. But more people are going to care a hell of a lot more about what they're seeing in these Sony exclusive games than these third party games. And I say that because Sony's already proven this. Why do you think people today in 2020, in August of 2020, are playing God of War? Why do you think people like PewDiePie are playing God of War? Because all the people who voted said this is the game we want to see you play. Because it's a groundbreaking game, man. And why people like Jack Frags are just suddenly randomly streaming games like Uncharted 4 and God of War. I'm telling you, like the idea that you're downplaying, oh, just Sony Studios, dude, not just that, but now you have to take into consideration what about the third party exclusive deals that Sony has, right? You look at that game Project Athia or Athia, however you say it. I promise you, they're going to take full advantage of that SSD and it may end up coming to the Xbox. Well, I don't know if it's coming to the Xbox, but we know it's going to PC. That game may only work on a very, very limited number of PCs because of what it may be able to achieve with the SSD. I'm just saying, man, like, I'm just tired of seeing people downplay it. Like, Mark Cerny knows what the hell he's doing. People like Tim Sweeney, I understand that Sony invested in them, but you have to understand the conversations that were happening about the PS5's SSD happened before that. he's very impressed with. I mean, just look at that goddamn demo, man. Just look at that. Look at that Unreal Engine 5 demo, and that is unoptimized. That's an unoptimized. Threw it together. Let's see what we can do just rapidly on a PlayStation 5. Get out of here, man. I'm sorry. Xbox Series X, it doesn't hold. It's great. It's fine. It's not a PS5, and it won't ever be a PS5. I'm just saying. Oh, Yakarumi, what happened to that Superman game that was in development? Last I heard, I don't know if this is true. Apparently, it was canceled for whatever reason, and now they're doing a Suicide Squad game. The Suicide Squad game is confirmed. Other than that, though, I don't know, man. I'm a little bit baffled. I'm sure they could reuse a lot of what they did for that Superman game, though. I don't want to say it was canceled, but maybe they're like, okay, we're going to reuse a lot of these Superman game assets for Suicide Squad. But for Faraz H, you're saying if Rockstar has some kind of exclusive deal with Sony for GTA 6, then the SSD would definitely benefit a game like GTA 6. That would be crazy. Yeah, dude. I mean, you're talking about you could see in GTA Online for the PS5 version, we're gonna have not just the PS5 version, but they're gonna bring like superpowers, right? That's the next thing in GTA Online, superpowers, where you can buy and earn superpowers, and you'll be able to do insane stuff because of the SSD. You could probably do it in the Series X version too, but I'm telling you, man, I'm telling you, there's a reason why a developer like Cory Barlog, and no, it's not just because he works for Sony, okay? There's a reason why he's saying when he's asked the most exciting thing about the PS5, and the first thing out of his mouth, that SSD. That SSD. Not the GPU, that SSD. Tragic Magic, you're saying would love to see a return to the Fight Night series, would be killer on new hardware. Haptics could improve the feel of immersion, SSD less of a factor. Yeah, I think people would love to see return to that too. There's a lot of classic like fighting series that people would love to see return, and it'll be interesting to see in the long term if they come back. Yo, I'm just excited Skate 4 is coming back. Like Skate's coming back, man. I don't care if I gotta wait 4 years. It'll be worth the damn wait. After playing that game, Skater XL, no offense. You know what? Yes, offense to that game. Holy hell, we need a new Skate. That's all I'm gonna say. Straight from VA1, you're saying Sony isn't only paying for timed exclusivity, but they are also paying for developers to optimize the game on their console. Exactly. And not only that, we don't know how many of these third-party deals Sony is actually helping fund the development of said games. And if they're helping fund it, maybe they're sliding that money over on the table. Like, and if you could maybe do some special stuff with our SSD, I think your developers might be surprised to see what they could achieve with it, you know? Wink, wink. Here's a big pile of cash. William Knight, thank you so much for that donation, buddy. Very generous. You're saying, I think another reason Sony is going to be successful in getting third-party timed exclusives is that those developers will get to sell their games for full price before being pressured to put them on a service like Game Pass. Exactly. That's another thing we have to take into consideration here too, is you have two divergent paths. You have Microsoft, where it seems like they would, if they're willing to pay for anything, it's probably let's pay to get this game on Game Pass rather than let's pay for timed exclusivity, right? Because I mean they want to sell Game Pass, and that's understandable why they would do that. But it's all about selling Game Pass, not the console. And if you think about it, it would cost, in my opinion, and this is just a basic assumption that I'm trying to make here. I don't think I'm wrong though. Take care, Freeze Vamp. I don't think I'm wrong though, but I think it would cost Microsoft a hell of a lot more money to put a brand new AAA third-party game onto Game Pass. A hell of a lot more money than it would cost Sony to convince them to make it a PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4 only exclusive, even if it's timed. Because think about that. With Game Pass, it's like you're going to have to cover the cost of development for the game and the cost of sales across all platforms. Yeah, at that point, it doesn't make any financial sense or business sense to pay for something like that. I mean, you'll grow Game Pass real quick that way, but you're going to lose way more money than you're going to get through Game Pass that way as well. And yeah, no developer is going to do that without basically saying, we need you to pay for the cost of development and not just breaking even. You know, like we were hearing, like, did you guys hear the rumors about Cyberpunk 2077? Apparently, like, it was shortly after launch, it was going to go on Game Pass. I'm like, are these people out of their goddamn minds? Like, do you have any idea at all. You're talking billions and billions of dollars that Microsoft would have to pay Cyberpunk to do something like that. Like it's just not gonna happen, man. To whereas if you think about the deals that Sony would make, yes, they would still have to pay a lot of money, but again, Sony has that massive install base and that loyal base that they can and that market share that they can basically, flex. And that goes a long way. And that brings the price down as well. So, yeah, I just had to rant there a little bit, guys. I don't apologize for ranting at this point because I know you guys appreciate the rants, but that just kind of popped in my mind because I was seeing that. And so I really got to speed this up. Um, Really quick here, we have a lot of the financial stuff that came out from Sony. Sony ships 1.9 million PlayStation 4 units, reveals 113 million PSN active users, and I'm trying to see how many PlayStation Plus members they had. I know it was a lot. It doesn't seem to be here for some reason in this article. You think it would be. Wait, PlayStation Plus exhibited more sequential year-over-year growth during the quarter, with the number of subscribers for the service sitting at roughly 45 million and the number reflecting a 2-year high. Sony has now also started to reveal monthly active PlayStation Plus users, and the data from the company's first quarter of the fiscal year 2020, which also marks the first time this figure is being revealed, shows during this quarter, the service's parent entity, PlayStation Network, had 113 million monthly active users. So, yeah, guys, PlayStation Network is no joke. And thank you so much, William Knight, for becoming a member. I really do appreciate that. I really do appreciate all of my members. I'm very appreciative and thankful for those of you who are going above and beyond to support me directly as an independent content creator. So thank you, buddy. Welcome aboard and look forward to your exclusive perks. But yeah, Sony, basically all you need to know about Sony's financial earnings for the last fiscal quarter is they just crushed it. They did really, 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 really well thanks to games like The Last of Us 2 and Ghost. I don't think Ghost of Tsushima was in there, but Final Fantasy 7 and The Last of Us Part 2 just absolutely killed it. I think Final Fantasy is like at 5 million units now, and it's the best-selling digital game ever on the PlayStation 4 for Square Enix. With huge, huge, huge numbers there. Again, this is why I'm sure these companies feel very comfortable making their games, exclusive, even if they are third party to the PlayStation consoles. Look at those numbers; they can't be denied, and they're just crushing it, with subscribers and everything. And yeah, it's just good news. It's great news because the better they do, like people are like, "Oh, why do you care so much about the numbers?" It's like, dude, I care about PlayStation as a brand and the future of it. And the better they do, numbers wise, money wise, like that's good. They're going to continue to double down and triple down on it. So, moving right along here, apparently the PlayStation website has actually revealed that the DualSense controller will receive its own software updates. So that's pretty cool. We had the Spider-Man thing. We already talked extensively about that. Yeah, Game Pass, or not Game Pass, but Xcloud it's coming to Game Pass Ultimate starting September 15th. And as you know, Apple is essentially blocking them from being able to use it on Apple devices, which is crazy. Just going right along here, more and more. Okay, so check this out. I know that a lot of us here, we're all about the physical games, right? We're not about the digital only future. We've known for some time that game sales are starting to skew more and more towards digital over physical, and Sony's latest stats reinforce this trend to a significant degree. Check this shit out, guys. A staggering 91 million PS4 games were sold during the first quarter of the fiscal year 2020, and 74% of those games and those sales were made through the PlayStation Store. Look, you guys know, I don't ever want to see physical content go anywhere, but at this point it is becoming abundantly clear that digital is the future. Like it's literally inevitable at this point. That doesn't mean physical is going to go away. It just means it's going to have less of a be less prominent. And there's no doubt everything that's going on in the world has skyrocketed this number, but my god, That's 3/4 of game sales on for PlayStation were from the PlayStation Store. This right here is why Sony is selling a digital only PS5. And this right here, mark my words, this is why I think Sony is going to take they're willing to sell the digital version of the PS5 for $100 less. I'm telling you, that's why. They want to get this digital console in people's homes. They want to lock people into that PlayStation Store, and I can't blame them because clearly a lot of people are okay with that. I will be getting the physical version. I want my physical based content when I can get it. That's not. I can't lie to you guys. Digital's been growing on me more and more, especially recently with everything that's going on. But I'll always be an advocate for physical media. I never want to see it go away. Very interesting though. But all right, guys. One last thing here. You remember that little badge that Microsoft was going to put on the Xbox Series X optimized games or sticker, whatever? It looked terrible. It just took up like an unnecessarily large amount of the box art space. Apparently, Microsoft is canning that. They're scrapping it. They're not going to be, and I think that's a wise move. It's really dumb. I'm glad to see that they're actually scrapping that because that just looked really dumb. So, just looking over here, seeing if there's anything else. There is some stuff here, but honestly, guys, it's too much. I can't do everything. We're already getting closer and closer to the 3-hour mark. So, what I want to do now as we end every single podcast is we are going to do a Q&A. So if you have any questions for me, guys, anything you want to ask, now is the time to do it. It's probably not going to be as long of a segment as it usually is because I don't want this podcast to run that long. So any questions you have, I have slow mode turned on. I'll try my best to keep up. Feel free to ask them now. MBG, will Overwatch 2 get announced at PlayStation's next event? Wasn't Overwatch 2 already announced? Maybe I'm wrong about that. MBG, are you gay? No, I'm not gay. Uh, it just feels so weird to answer that so casually because it feels like, I mean, it's not relevant to the channel, but no, I'm not. For anybody who's wondering, you hear about AT&T and not selling WB games anymore. Yeah, we did talk about that. MBG, it's sad that I think all of us know more Xbox exclusives than Xbox upcoming IPs, unlike PlayStation. That proves Xbox is all talk. Yeah, they do talk a lot. MBG Hot Chips event is on the 16th and 18th, and the Xbox Series X has a deeper dive into their system, so expect a PS5 teardown near them. Yep, maybe it'll be on the 20th. Maybe it'll be on the 20th. Do you remember every PS1 and PS2 games? I do not remember every PS1 and PS2 game. Are you buying a Series X? No, not at launch. And at this point, I'm not sure that I ever will be. The first game that's exclusive to just the Xbox Series X and PC is that I'm interested in is probably when I'll buy one. Imagine a psychological horror game online with MMORPG updates and players. Yeah, that would be pretty interesting. I don't know what that would look like. Will you buy Final Fantasy VII Remake while it's on sale? I probably should, right? I don't know if I'm going to, but I probably should. I'm still trying to make my way through Ghost of Tsushima, and obviously I'm playing these random ass games in between, but I have to get around to it eventually. I don't know, guys. Like, Final Fantasy is so tough for me because I've just never been into it, and it's just such a tough pill to swallow, it feels like. How do you feel about the official Silent Hill account following Dusk Golem? Really, I didn't know that. Maybe it's telling us something. Maybe it's trying to say something. What does MBG mean? It means muscle-bound gamer. Did you see the PS5 ads in the Champions League this week? They are going ham with the ads and exposure. Yeah, dude. You wait. They still haven't hit full gear yet. They still haven't put the pedal to the metal when it comes to advertising. They're going to, though. Will Jurassic World Evolution 2 get announced at PlayStation's next event? I have no idea. Do you think The Last of Us 2 has a chance in hell of winning Game of the Year? Honest thoughts? I do. I do, actually. I think it has a pretty high chance, but I think we have to see what the response to Cyberpunk is first. I know The Last of Us 2 is very controversial, but the games media really liked it, as you can tell. So, yeah, we'll see about that. I said we know more Microsoft/Xbox executives. Oh, my bad, dude. Yeah, I probably said exclusives and it didn't make any sense. But yeah, you are right about that when it comes to knowing more about them and hearing more about them. Let me see. Try not to lose track here. What do you think about HFW coming out on the 4-year anniversary? I don't know. I don't have much thought on that. What do you believe will be the general length of uh, time that Sony is locking up games for exclusivity? 1 year, 6 months. If they're being aggressive, I'm thinking a year. If August 20th is Sony's event rumored, what do you think their next Xbox event will be? When do I think the next Xbox event will be? Probably before that or in between that. Would you like a two-player co-op mode with Peter and Miles in the Spider-Man game? That would be cool. I don't think it'll be there, but maybe in the full-blown sequel. Fresh on Twitter now, Resistance Fall of Men web. Oh shit! Fresh now on Twitter. If this is true, Resistance Fall of Man website has been renewed 7/20/2020. Okay. Maybe you have to do a dedicated video on that if that's true. Do you really like Aloy? I think Aloy's a cool character. Yeah. Do you think Sony should buy Quantic Dream, the makers of Heavy Rain? I don't. I think it would fit, but I don't think they're going to buy them. I don't think they even want to be acquired. Your live streams won't show in my feed or anywhere. I have to manually go to your channel for the past 4 weeks. Not sure if you are aware of that happening to anyone else. I'm glad you point that out to me. That could be a problem. See, I've been running into this issue with the live streams where I've been reusing my stream key because it like switched something up. Maybe that's why. Can anybody else in the chat, can you let me know if you've been experiencing that same problem? Because I may have to find a fix for that. I hope this shows up afterwards. I hope I don't have to re-upload it. You say you're doing exactly the same halfway through Ghost and playing in these in between. How possible is it? Do you think the PS5 spec upgrade rumor to be true? I think it's very possible. Maybe nothing major, but do you remember all your favorite games on any Xbox? Have you ever tried Steel Battalion? I do remember some of my favorite games, but I never played um that game in particular. I'm losing. Yes, same issue. It's happened to you too. So, are you guys saying that like I guess I'll find out after the stream. Are you guys sorry if I'm ignoring some questions, but now I'm concerned. Oe Akarumi, you're saying Xbox to the fans, and if you're not done with that, I got two words for you. Jesus. Um, dude, I didn't get the notification either. That's why I was late today. Shows up notifications, but not in my sub feed. Yeah, that okay. See, this is a problem that I'm all right. Yeah, I knew there was something going on. I knew there was something going on. Um so I want to okay, there's a good chance now I'm going to have to download this podcast and literally re-upload it, which is not a problem if I have to do that. Actually, it might be a problem. I'm not sure, but yeah, I've been having trouble with my streams cuz YouTube updated something and I messed it up. So, yeah. What a pain in the ass, man. It's not I don't think it's anything major. I think it just has to do with stream keys. I think it's because I've been choosing the option to reuse my last stream because it's just easier, and I just changed some of the stuff in the title and the tags somewhat, but I think it's actually like I didn't realize it was doing that. So I may have to manually create new streams each time, but that can be a little bit frustrating because that's not really how I've ever done it before, and I didn't run into this problem. So I guess what I will let you know is be prepared potentially for some issues with the next stream I do or the next podcast. But guys, I gotta tell you, my voice is really starting to go now. It's actually starting to hurt to talk, and I'm very hungry. So I apologize that I couldn't get to all your questions. And I apologize if I missed anybody's, but I want to thank you guys so much for your continued support. I'm going to have to end it here. I thought it was a good show, certainly a very long one. Um, I'm going to have to look into why. All right, here, do me this favor, guys. You ready? When this stream is done, for those of you who come back to it, if you could leave me a comment letting me know if you're still facing the same issue with this podcast episode. And if so, I may have to re upload it and then I'll have to possibly try to find a solution as to why that's going on. I might not re-upload it. I might just leave it, but I'll definitely have to look into a solution. So let me know in the comments afterwards. I'll be looking out for that. But that's going to do it, guys. I really appreciate all of your support. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you to all of my members. Again, if you want to become a member, feel free to do so. It really helps me out as an independent content creator. Any support you guys show helps. Be sure to leave this podcast. I'm losing track of everything. Be sure to leave this podcast a like before you go. We're over 800. Let's see if we can somehow get to 900 before it ends. Probably not, but hey, the closer we get, the better. And that's going to do it, guys. So, yeah, until next time, take care.